Alright, so we're going to be getting into some more reading the SCP Foundation Wiki. This has been just like a really chill segment stream. I've been enjoying it, and it's kind of like cool to just wind down with it. I mean, that's why I announced that in the Go Live notification. We're winding down with reading the SCP Foundation Wiki. And yeah, we're reading O31 through O40. And as always, I like doing a random too. It throws in a little variety with it. So we're going to start with a random one too. This is a meme related to a future one we'll encounter. Not yet, but pretty soon we'll run into this one unless somehow we get like cross-linked to it. Yeah, if you can't see, it says, "Is that pestilence? I smell pestilence." So yeah, we'll get to that particular SCP character soon, but yeah, dude, it's time for more of this. Like I said, it's just kind of like a sequential read-along with a little bit of random spice thrown in here and there. And we kind of, depending on how long we go and also like just relevant to whatever story we're reading, we sometimes read offshoot articles. But yeah, this is reading the SCP Foundation Wiki, numbers 31 through 40. And as always, I play a little music in the background throughout this. I mean, if you're a purist with audiobooks or whatever, I'm sorry. But it just helps me. It's nice. I think it fits the theme. Regardless, like, sometimes we do have some sparkly, twinkly Maho shoujo songs, as some video game soundtracks are. But yeah, we also have some fitting tunes, so I think it's good. I mean, I don't know. It's my stream, dude. I'll do what I want. So yeah, this is music from my personally curated playlist. Let's get back into this. Nice. Starting with Zelda again. That's weird. Alright. Well, yeah, as I said, we are starting with number 31. I have it open here, but we want to do random first too. So here's O31's page really quick. And we'll go do a random. I also want to show you this. What's up with this? This is the first thing I saw whenever I went to the front page of the SCP Wiki today. Wait, what? I think I stumbled on a cognito hazard or an ARG or something. Hold on. What? I'm gonna look this up and see if I get it. I had a very bizarre start page. I wonder if, Oh, you know what it is? Okay, this is what I saw. It automatically took me to this page. I thought this was like its own, like ARG or joke for the front page, but this is actually 2521. You probably see it at the bottom here. Yeah, 2521. I guess, for whatever reason, that just redirects there. Yeah, let's check out a random SCP first, and then we'll move back to the sequential read-through. Man, this is some chill music for how freaky this can get. Okay. Level 2 over 2766 classified? What? Are we doing math with this cave? This is SCP-2766. The caption to the image says SCP-2766 April 2009. Here's the page. And if you don't know, I just do that for like a bit of, I don't know, it can be scary, so I like show you the whole page so that you know there's like no jump scare or something. And also it just like quickly breezes through the entire article, you know? Shows a quick image of it. Alright, here's the actual, whoops. Here's the actual SCP object, whatever it is. I should probably be in the other window capture for this. Yeah, there it is. It appears to just be a standard cave. One you would find pretty much anywhere. It kind of reminds me of Peanut a little bit. We just had that in the last stream. But it does seem to be just somewhat of a maybe copper or just dirt, salty clay perhaps. Very small cave, but maybe that's just the camera perspective because it appears that the floor is very high up in relation to the ceiling of the cave. So the cameraman must be like 5'2" or something. The cave itself, it really just does look like some typical, maybe at worst granite, probably, I don't know, just some color rock. or just very thin dirt with a lot of moisture on it. The inner area of the cave nearest the camera's shot appears to be white, but it's probably a trick of the light with the camera's flash. The cave does seem to peter off and get dark in the distance, for sure. There's not much of a passageway here. It looks like there's a bunch of strewn about leaves on the ground, and the ground does look a lot like dirt. Very wet, just sodden dirt. I think part of the walls is indeed rock. Just looking over at this left side here. Yeah, it just looks like a standard cave. Maybe a shelter for someone who lives in the woods. Maybe an animal lives here. Nothing too anomalous looking about it. It just has general refuse about it. Okay, let's go ahead and read this. This is some awesome Phantasy Star Online music, by the way. This is called Duel 1 from Phantasy Star Online Episode 1 and 2. I'm just gonna crop this a little bit. I think like 84. No, not that. Wrong thing. This one. Yeah, this song is such a banger, dude. So maybe like 243? 244, okay. Good crop. Okay. Level 2 over 2766 classified, item number 2766, object class safe. Special containment procedures between astronomical dawn and dusk on the first of each month in the Julian calendar. 2766 is to be supplied with a constant flow of water, measuring no less than 4.5 million liters per hour. A series of channels diverting water from nearby Anyan River to the entrance of 2766 has been constructed for this purpose. During this period, 2766 is to be drained into the pipeline at its outlet. Its products are to be filtered, diluted, and then released into the Anyan at a foundation facility in the San Lorenzo Hydroelectric Dam. Description: 2766 is a long section of aqueduct tunnel approximately 180 meters long. Footnote 1 Roman Stadium. Okay. Standard unit of measure. Near the source of the Aqua Claudia, an ancient Roman aqueduct, which brought water from springs at Sublesensis, modern Subiaco, to the city of Rome. When water passes through 2766, it is transmuted into an equivalent volume of a mixture of wine and another liquid. Liquid produced varies by the month of the Julian calendar. See Table 2766-1. Table 2766-1, 2766 products by month. Month, product, notes, table. January, river water. Water lacks modern industrial pollutants, but in all other ways matches the particulate composition of the Tiber River around the city of Rome. January 1st was celebrated by the Romans as the feast day of Janus, god of borders, doorways, and bridges. So this seems to be like a mined SCP and it's just related to wine. It could be even a natural phenomena. Maybe there's a lot of wine buried under the aqueduct. Grapes, rather, not wine. It's just constantly fermenting. Could be an underground orchard or something. Who knows? February, solution of salts and minerals similar in composition to a human sweat. Okay, take that back. The Human Purification Festival of Februa occurred during the month of February and was strongly associated with sweat and fever. I feel like I'm reading a Wikipedia article that someone wrote. March, human blood. DNA analysis indicates that blood comes from a number of individuals, both male and female. March 1st was the feast day of Mars, god of war. April, wine is mixed with pomegranate juice, considered an aphrodisiac by the Romans, and spiced with an unidentified herb, possibly silphium, a now extinct variety of fennel used by the Romans as a seasoning and a contraceptive. Sex month. April 1st was celebrated as the Feast of Venus, goddess of desire. May, menstrual fluid from a number of female individuals. May 1st was celebrated as the Feast of Bona Dea, a fertility goddess and protector of women. So it seems ancient Rome really tried to focus on producing babies around April, and then they used May as like the fall-off period where fertility was rewarded. June, cow blood from 2 distinct individuals, both female. A pair of cows was the traditional sacrifice to Juno, whose feast day falls on June 1st. July, human blood from a single male individual. DNA analysis indicates that there is a close familial relation between blood produced in July and August. It is currently hypothesized that during these months, 2766 produces the blood of Julius Caesar and his grandnephew, Augustus, for whom these months were named. Okay, so the Foundation just has access to genetic data of those two. Weird. August, human blood from a single male individual. See July. September, wine produced is undiluted and has a higher alcohol concentration than other months. The feast of Liber, a Roman wine god equated with the Greek Dionysus, took place during September. October, horse blood from a single male individual. During the month of October, the Romans celebrated Equus October, a festival culminating in the sacrifice of a horse to Mars. November, river water, particulate composition matches the Nile River near Philae. Philae was an important cult leader of Isis in antiquity. The festival of Isis, first introduced under Caligula, was celebrated in Rome on November 1st. Did I miss a tooltip here? I see 3. Oh, no, that is 2. Never mind. I was looking at it from the corner of my eye, I guess. December. Wine is sweetened with honey and spiced with a blend of black pepper, saffron, and fennel. That sounds awesome. This mixture is known as conditum paradoxum, and was a popular winter beverage in ancient Rome, associated with the Saturnalia solstice festival, which occurred in December. Footnote 2, a wondrous spiced drink. If 2766 is not supplied with a sufficient amount of water, tooltip footnote 3, minimum flow seems to be approximately 3.5 million liters per hour. Okay, about half of the Aqua Claudia's maximum flow rate while operational. So this natural reservoir aqueduct is, it has to be powered, huh? If it is not supplied with sufficient amount of water during daylight hours, on the first day of each month, it will begin to produce whatever wine mix. Sorry, I have to burp. That's what's slipping me up here. It will begin to produce whatever wine mixture would normally be produced that month at a flow rate of approximately 7.5 million liters per hour, the rate at which water flowed through the Aqua Claudia while it was operational. The liquid pours from niches in the walls originally used to hold oil lamps during the tunnel's construction, and from holes and cracks in the hydraulic cement along the floor and walls. This flow will continue until the last day of that month, at which point the flow rate will gradually decrease over the course of the day, coming to a stop at dusk. That's kind of interesting engineering, that they used the lamp spots as part of the aqueduct. The section of the Aqua Claudia, which includes 2766, was built in 38 CE under the Emperor Caligula, and the remainder of the aqueduct was completed in 52 CE by his successor Claudius. 10 years after its completion, due to 2766's effects, the Aqua Claudia was abandoned. In 70 CE, under the Emperor Vespasian, containment of 2766 was established by the Praetorian Office of Secret Wisdom. Footnote 4. Cura Praetoria Sapientiae Occulti, a division of the Praetorian Guard dedicated to the containment and or destruction of anomalous creatures and objects that were a threat or inconvenience to the Roman Empire. So we almost have a meta SCP reference here. And as I've stated before, kind of spoilers, kind of not spoilers. The Foundation does kind of time travel at some point, so yeah, their influence definitely spreads. Praetorian Office of Secret Wisdom and a secondary channel of the Aqua Claudia by bypassing 2766 was created. After the fall of the Western Roman Empire, 2766 was uncontained until the Vatican Holy Office of Secrets and Prophecy re-established containment in 786 CE. Recovered document 2766-1, dedicatory inscriptions, 2766 repair access tunnel. Whenever I get to the thousands, if that happens, this is going to be a constant theme. I'm going to stumble over saying numbers in thousands. Latin, circa 39 CE. From the records of the Vatican Holy Office of Secrets and Prophecy, translation Sebastian Miller, 1957. Caius Julius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, footnote 5, full regnal name of the emperor more commonly known as Caligula, son of Tiberius Pontifex Maximus, footnote 6, the emperor's title in his role as high priest of the Roman state religion, consul 5 times in his 3rd year as emperor, father of his country, saw to it that the Curtan and Cerulean waters, footnote 7, the springs that were the source of the Aqua Claudia, be brought into the city of Rome. Lucius Caecilius Aeter, superintendent of secrets, footnote 8, curator arcanorum, an appointed position in the Roman government attested in only a few places. The existence of the office itself seems to have been a state secret. Individuals with this name are attested intermittently as curator arcanorum from the rule of Caligula until the fall of the Western Roman Empire. See Person of Interest, file POA 37 beta. By decree of the divine Caius, the new son, footnote 9, Divus Caius Neos Helius, a title associated with the worship of Caligula as a living god, saw to it that the Curtan and Cerulean waters be transformed, so the baths and fountains of Rome might run with whatever is most pleasing to the emperor and the gods. That is a lot of footnotes. Recovered document 2766-2, Cura Praetoria Sapientiae Occulti, record of containment for the Aqua Caligula, Latin circa 70 CE, from the records of the Vatican Holy Office of Secrets and Prophecy. Translation Sebastian Miller, 1957. In the second year of the Imperium of Titus Flavius Caesar Vespasianus, let me try that again. In the second year of the Imperium of Titus Flavius Caesar Vespasianus Augustus, footnote 10, the full regnal name of the Emperor Vespasian, the Praetorians were sent to investigate the rumors of the Anio, footnote 11, the Latin name of the Onion, running with blood and wine. Arriving at Sublecensus, it was found by Prefect of Hidden Wisdom Caesovicius Candidus that a part of the Aqua Claudia, which had been closed on account of it producing fouled waters, and had been diverted into the Cloaca Maxima to aid in the cleansing of sewage, had collapsed in an earthquake, and was now pouring out blood and wine into the Anio. And with the matter having been investigated further, it was learned that the spirits bound to the aqueduct by Lucius Caecilius Aeter, curator arcanorum, for the Emperor Caligula, so that the Emperor might have his fountains pour forth whatever might be appropriate for the holiday, had become confused by this destruction, and were already angered by their long lack of employment in the task set forth for them by Aeter. For the divine Claudius had not known of the miraculous properties of his aqueduct, and so had not used the powers of the spirits. And in their anger, these spirits had decided that they would pour forth whatever would be most fitting for the whole of the month, unless during the calends, footnote 12, the Latin term for the first day of the month, they were well employed for the whole of the day. And with these things learned by the augurs and haruspices, footnote 13, seers who predicted the future through the flight of birds and the livers of sheep, respectively, The prefect decided that for the whole of the Collins, every month the spirits would be given their employment so the Anyo might run clean for the rest. So, who knows if this is a natural phenomena? This is clearly some, like, demiurge mindfuckery, but it's very interesting. And whoever wrote this clearly did their research or had to do a, college project on ancient Rome, because this seems very, very well read up on. Alright, let's move back to 031. I showed the page earlier, but let's see the whole page again. I want to crop this a little too. I'm like cutting out the logo. Oh no, I just wasn't scrolled all the way up. Okay. Alright, 031. 031, the item number 031, object class Euclid. The Ryugyong Hotel, located in Pyongyang, Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Oh boy, we're getting into a real spicy one now, huh? Well, that's what the caption for the image says. It does appear to be some sort of spire. It kind of just looks pyramid-esque, like some sort of, I don't know, fancy expenditure design building. Speaking in terms of my knowledge of North Korea, this could probably be like a dictator expenditure thing where he just spent a bunch of shitloads of money for no reason. I don't know anything about North Korea. I haven't read up on their history or anything. I just know it's like a crazy country. But yeah, it definitely resembles some sort of like excessive architecture. There seems to be like some sort of standing platform as well as I don't know, what could this be, like a radio tower or a receiving antenna on the very top of the building? As we scroll down, it appears to be made of some sort of tile? Or maybe just the very shaped molded granite. It's very triangular, and at the very, like, mid of the building itself, it sort of splinters off into another jagged spike on both sides, so it almost resembles a mountain. A very hollow mountain. It does look impressive as a building, though, but also very stark and oppressive, I guess. Not trying to be biased with this description. In the center near the jagged spikes, and also just ascending up the top of the spire of the building, it appears there's two rows of buildings dotted throughout the horizon of the building, horizontally. And vertically in the due center, between two of those windows, it looks like, are two vertical lines just stretching up in white. Also it looks like it appears to be made of tile or something. Very angular building. It looks quite triangular. Yeah, I don't know if these are windows or if they are some sort of also tile, but the black markings do appear to be some sort of window. As the building ascends, there's only one row of windows at the top, and then above that it seems to be two, maybe more portholes for an observation deck. And then above that, a striped, again, seemingly tiled area in concentric circle, sort of cut through in a cone, which seems to be maybe the penthouse area or something. It is apparently mid-construction or something, because there appears to be construction towers for raising and lowering things. It looks like there's a wall around maybe some of the building, if not a lot of it. Definitely a different material. Looks like maybe hard plaster or just concrete. And at the base of the building, there is a common area, I suppose you could call it. So it looks like a very expensive hotel. Now that I look closer, it does appear to be glass. So yeah, instead of tile, it's definitely glass. And yeah, it's just in a general city area. Can't really see many adjacent buildings. There's some telephone poles and lights and wires running along the, what do you call it? Like the train view perspective, triangle going in, well, whatever. The pointed perspective is very good in this image. Whoever the photographer was is good. We could see like a statue reflected in the building itself reflecting its main area, the common room, and then just a typical like standard, I don't know, 1920s, 1950s general prefab building, somewhat cylinder-esque with, it's just a common building, you'd find it anywhere. In the background, it is just a clear sky day. So yeah, let's read 031. Okay, item number 031, object class Euclid Special Containment Procedures 031 is currently contained in the Ryugyong Hotel, located in the city of Pyongyang, Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Footnote 1, North Korea. As the nation it is located in is currently governed by an authoritarian regime with near complete control of state and national media, the possibility of information regarding 031 is being released to the world at large is minimal. As said regime is also cooperating with the Foundation in order to maintain physical security of the site, Foundation personnel are instructed to comply with their directives so long as they do not interfere with larger Foundation aims. This is kind of like a political thriller entry. Nice, dude, Castlevania. The structure of the Ryugyong Hotel serves to contain 031 within the central spire. 3 secondary spires, located at 120-degree intervals from the central pyramid, house Type 9 Heaven's Blade restriction systems. Footnote 2, a locally manufactured version of the Right psionic field disruptor. Calibrated to focus a disruptive energy field towards the central spire. Is this actually Dracula's castle? Although unable to prevent physical escape of 031, the system serves to prevent 031's psychic energies from escaping the structure and affecting off-site personnel. Okay. Reclamation efforts of the hotel are currently underway, with local government forces utilizing hazmat-suited government I don't know where I got government from. Utilizing hazmat-suited personnel armed with flame projectors and chemical sprayers to decontaminate areas affected by 031. However, due to the slow pace of progress in 031's defensive capabilities, reclamation efforts are drastically behind schedule. Footnote 3. Initial estimates that were 031's central core would be reclaimed by 1989, but as of 2021, efforts are still ongoing. Personnel who become affected by 031's psychic abilities are to be terminated immediately to prevent their biomatter from becoming incorporated into its physical matrix. Damn, so this is a higher level psychic entity for sure. Description: 031 is an amorphous organism with a mass of over 7,500 kilograms that has infiltrated the ductwork and maintenance infrastructure of the building. Tendrils emerging from 031's central mass have spread through the hotel's plumbing and ductwork to all 105 floors of the building. At its peak, over 75% of the hotel's 3,000 rooms were contaminated by 031. Reclamation efforts have destroyed double blank % of the initial infestation, but over triple blank rooms remain affected by 031. 031 tendrils terminate in a pod-like structure, sporocarp, consisting of an ovoid structure approximately 2 meters in length, with multiple cilia-like structures branching off of the main body. This sounds kind of like cellular biology a little bit. On some occasions, subjects in the presence of an 031 sporocarp will instead perceive it as an individual the subject had a close emotional connection to in their past. So it is a very strong psychic entity, and even its offspring are powerful and psychic. Like, in their psychic prowess is what I mean to say. The 031 sporocarp will metamorphose into the shape of the person perceived and attempt to persuade the subject to remain with them for an extended period of time. So we see immediate language, understanding, and simultaneously this is somewhat of a changeling. The 031 sporocarp will next attempt to make physical contact with a targeted individual with their cilia-like structures. Digestive juices will be injected into the subject's body, and their flesh will be consumed and incorporated into 031's body mass. So yeah, its offspring are pretty much probably just a duplicate of itself, and they serve as servitors for the main, hive mind, whatever it is. In the meantime, a secondary flagellum will engulf the subject's cranium and brain, replacing the blood vessels with its own tendrils, which will maintain life support of the affected brain by some yet undiscovered means. The tendrils will decerebrate the subject and transport the subject's cranium back through the building's ductwork where it is incorporated into the central mass. So this hive mind psychic blob entity that creates, like, attack cells steals the heads of its victims alive and utilizes it for its hive mind psyche, whatever, collection. Footage taken through surveillance drones indicate that there are currently longer blank, 1,000 blank crania in the network of tendrils attached to O31's central mass. By all indications, the brains connected with it are still alive and maybe conscious, so they can't even get that close. That's how fucked this is. History. O31 was recovered on 10/22/1948, following contradictory police records taken after a riot in the city of Redacted, where several civilians had gathered around a refugee camp, professing love and devotion to a cult-like leader, whom they referred to as the Beloved. Once initial contact and assessment was made, the civilians were pacified through widespread distribution of inhaled tranquilizers and aerosol amnestics. NTF Psi-7 was able to recover O31's central mass and move it into containment. We'll see how long this one is, we might check it out. What is this, the recruitment page for Psi-7? Huh. I'll keep this one open in the background, maybe we'll come back to it. Saw something about Count Bathory. Jeez. In its initial form, O31 consisted of a single amorphous entity, approximately 75 kilograms in weight, of vaguely humanoid shape. It had not yet manifested the ability to consume and incorporate human biomatter into itself, or any mind-affecting properties aside from inspiring unusual feelings of love and devotion. As of 11/16/1948, O31 had been classified as safe and was in containment at Site Double Blank. Unfortunately, the Korean conflict, which began on 6/25/1950, resulted in the destruction of the Foundation containment site at Pyongyang, and the loss of all anomalies contained within. By the end of the conflict in 1953, all other anomalies were accounted for, either recovered or confirmed destroyed, aside from O31, which was presumed lost and in the wild. Foundation assets first became aware of the re-emergence of O31 in 1992, when construction on the Ryugyong Hotel in Pyongyang suddenly halted. Personnel liaising with the local regime confirmed that an anomalous effect had resulted in the disappearance of numerous workers employed in the construction of the hotel, and a Foundation mobile task force was dispatched to investigate. All members of the MTF were subsequently lost in action, and the site was locked down and declared off-limits. All work on the Ryugyong Hotel ceased for over 16 years, aside from the installation of the Heaven's Blade restriction systems on the secondary spires. Damn, so even though they failed to really do much, they kind of infiltrated and still managed to at least put it back a little bit. In 2008, increased infiltration of O31 into the building's infrastructure resulted in the possibility of its discovery by outside persons. The local regime immediately ordered that windows be installed on the structure to hide the existence of O31 from others, resulting in the loss of triple blank more construction workers. Unfortunately, this was perceived as the resumption of construction on the building, resulting in expectations that the structure would actually be completed and open to the public in the future. Oh no, I bet people just ran in then and got eaten. Reclamation efforts commenced within the year, utilizing flame and solvent projecting equipment to destroy O31 tendrils and sporocarps, with each team accompanied by a political officer assigned to terminate any personnel who became assimilated into O31. Not just the Foundation killing people. As of this current date, Footnote 4/2/2721, reclamation efforts are still underway. Foundation personnel are continuing to liaise with the local regime and monitor their progress, which is slow but steady. Appendix 1. Excerpts from RISA email server. From RISA Associate Director Eleanor Jones to Records Office 2201. Subject: Incomplete Special Containment Procedures for... Incomplete Special Containment Procedures file for O31. Team, I have an issue that needs immediate clarification. I have the Yugong Hotel as the location of a mind-affecting stele from the Proto-Afro-Asiatic culture group. This redirects to 1427. Wait, what? How's this the same thing? What? Okay. Huh. It's two separate things now. Weird. I'll think about it. I want to get to at least 10 today, though, and I want to do those first. So let's just return to this. I'm going to do that the whole night, I think, too. If we still have time. As you can see, that's the same location for this brain-stealing flesh network. Are these two objects related at all? Is this hotel some kind of DPRK containment facility? If so, we should put that into the Object Special Containment Procedures file. Please reply at your earliest convenience. From Records Office 2201 to Eleanor Jones. Incomplete Special Containment Procedures file for O31. Eleanor, as far as my team can figure, there doesn't appear to be a link between the two objects. In fact, I'm getting conflicting reports from the containment teams regarding whether or not either of these objects actually exist. The 1427 team is insisting the hotel is the site for the stele, and there's no brain-eating flesh network there. The DPRK government is part of the containment procedures, and I have the team for O31 insisting that the DPRK government's involvement is purely politically motivated, i.e. we don't want to get involved so long as they're taking care of it. There's no such thing as a mind-affecting stele located within the building. Which is concerning given that we've got two mind-affecting anomalies within the same space and two teams with two separate stories here. Possible Eastern Samothrace situation? Gwen. This links to 1173. Okay, I'll go ahead and show it off really quick and then maybe we'll check it out tonight. Like I said, I just want to do sequential first and foremost. From Eleanor Jones to Records Office 2201, O31 and 1427 records conflict was incomplete special containment procedures file for O31. Okay, someone needs to get to the bottom of this. We can't have a useful database with such blatantly contradictory information. Make it your first priority to resolve this. From Records Office 2201 to Eleanor Jones, O31 and 1427 records conflict was incomplete special containment procedures for O31. Eleanor, will do. Entered into the tracker as 0000031 F99ZX with a sister ticket entered as 0011427 F99ZX. Gwen. From Eleanor Jones to Records Office, O31 and 1427 records conflict was incomplete special containment procedures for O31. Team, can I get an update on this issue? From Records Office 2201 to Eleanor Jones. Eleanor, my apologies. I guess I wasn't clear that further updates would be sent out through the tracker system. We're gathering information and assessing the situation. We'll keep you informed, Gwen. From Eleanor Jones to Records Office 2201. Team, it's been 3 days. Can I please get the requested update, or at least a deadline by which we'll have this issue resolved? From Records Office 2201 to Eleanor Jones. Eleanor, as I stated in Tracker Update 22 on this ticket, we found that the problem is more complicated than we expected, requiring us to physically send a person from HQ over to Pyongyang to investigate. It's taken us some time to get through that North Korean red tape. Totalitarian governments, am I right? Oh my god. And to get the paperwork done to reassign Jenny's responsibilities while she's gone. Gwen. From Eleanor Jones to Records Office 2201, What's the holdup? What's the holdup? Team, it's been 2 weeks. Why has there been no update on this issue? This is a highly time-sensitive issue, and your lack of progress is extremely disappointing. We need to get this resolved before Maria has to step in. From Records Office 2201 to Eleanor Jones. What's the holdup? Eleanor, I can assure you that per your instructions, resolving this issue has been our top priority. We've been cross-referencing between the documentation, and the only discrepancy appears to be the fact that there are discrepancies. As in, all of the documentation for one project is internally consistent, and all of the documentation for the second project is internally consistent. It's only when you put them together that things don't make sense. We tried talking to the project leads of both teams, but neither of them seems to know the other exists. We tried having them look up the other team's SCP file in the system. They can read it just fine, but it doesn't make sense to them. O31 team has no record of 1427 on site, and vice versa. We thought there might be some kind of time-space parallel. We thought there might be some kind of time-space parallel dimensions thing going, so we had a member of each team try to meet up at the same place at the Ryugyong Hotel, outside the front entrance. They were not able to find each other despite confirming that they were both in the same place at the same time. Photographs with timestamps attached. We then had 2 team members try to meet up at a location outside the hotel. They were able to meet up just fine. When they tried to return to the hotel together, they lost track of each other and ended up not being able to find each other. We've tried sending Jenny over to Pyongyang to investigate. That was a pain in the ass given visa restrictions into North Korea. They weren't able to meet with both teams simultaneously, but they were able to meet with each team one-on-one. Both teams gave them a tour of their containment facility, and everything seemed to be in order. 31 team showed them the reclaimed rooms and the cleanup teams, while 1427 team showed them the location of the Steel. I don't know why I said it with a German accent. Neither team was able to allow direct contact with the anomaly because of the containment procedures, but they were able to confirm its existence through remote cameras. The DPRK team for 31 had no idea about the existence of any DPRK assets being used to contain 1427, and vice versa. This might not be too surprising given information controls in that country. To make things even worse, Jenny got a call from Yoon Mi at the KR branch asking what the hell a RISA staff member was doing in the city. She contacted them, and as far as KR is concerned, we do not and have not had any assets in the Ryugyong Hotel. Jenny went so far as to ask you and me to take her to the hotel and show her around a bit, and when she got there, she couldn't find any trace of O31, 1427, or the teams involved with either. So in conclusion, after 3 weeks of hard work, we can conclude from the evidence, one of the following must be true. O31 exists, hold on. 1. O31 exists and 1427 does not. 2. 1427 exists and O31 does not. 3. Both 1427 and O31 exist, and there is an anomaly at the Ryugyong Hotel preventing either team from knowing about the other or proving the other exists. 4. Neither O31 or 1427 exist, and there is an anomaly at the Ryugyong Hotel creating the impression that it exists in the RISA Central staff, but the KR branch staff are not affected. 5. One or both of O31 and 1427 may or may not exist, and the KR branch are under a mind-affecting compulsion that they do not, or we're under a compulsion that it does. 6. All or none or some of the above may be true simultaneously due to multi-worlds theory, parallel universes, or timey-wimey fuckery shit. And if you have any idea what we can fucking do to fucking fix that shit, I've got Glenn. Timey-wimey fuckery shit. I appreciate the Doctor Who reference. From Eleanor Jones to Records Office 2201. Subject: New Directives. Hello, team. Number 1. Effective immediately, Guinevere Kirkpatrick has been relieved of her duties as the project lead at Records Office 2201. 2. All Records Office 2201 staff are to make the resolution of tickets 000, 0031F99ZX and 001-1427F99ZX their top priority. No other work on any other project is to continue until this issue is resolved. I want hourly reports until this matter is concluded. From Director Maria Jones, Record Keeping and Information Security Administration, to all RISA Associate Directors, double blank, quadruple blank, a fond farewell and other updates. Good afternoon, RISA staff. Thank you again for all your hard work. Today's email will be a short one. Number 1. The 3.14 update of Scuttle has been updated to Snapshot 2207D. Please remind your team leads to log into the test instance and confirm proper functionality. Send any bug reports to the Scuttle team as soon as possible. We know that this involves taking time out of your day for additional tasks, but the sooner we complete this wide-scale stress test, the sooner we can roll out the new version and put some fears to rest. 2. I am saddened to announce that Eleanor has chosen to retire due to health concerns. This announcement came as a surprise to me as well. Due to the sudden nature of her health crisis, she was unable to say goodbye to us before being transferred to Blank Hospital, where I understand she is convalescing nicely. Please expect a follow-up email with a link to a crowdfunding page for a going-away gift for her, as well as an address where you can send cards, gifts, and other well wishes. Until we can appoint a new AD to take over her projects, we will temporarily be splitting her teams up between several different existing ADs. Expect an announcement of the new table of organization by noon GMT. 3. Please take a moment during your next weekly team meeting to go over Section 22B, reporting inconsistencies in documentation, of your handbook with your staff, and make sure that everyone knows the proper procedures to follow if and when you end up with an information anomaly. Maria. Well, that is fucking foreboding. Yeah, that is cognitohazard if I've ever seen that. Metamorphic? Mimetic, not even mimetic. This is, I don't know, mimetic? It's learning too fast. It's parasitic and predatory. Rewrite? I guess Maria Jones is her own tag? Let's see how long this next one is, 032, and I'll decide if we want to read the brother and sister articles to this, probably 1427 first. Oh yeah. It has interview addendums, but that's fine. Let's read these first. So let's read 1427 first. Here's the whole page. Again, addendums, but those are usually okay. 1427, item number 1427, object class Keter. You know what? This is a totally different image. So let's take a peek at it. This appears to be the same building as in 031, but it does appear to be in a different area, or perhaps the photo taken is in a different area or something. Again, it does seem to be the same building. Maybe, yeah, just a different photo from a different angle. Again, you can sort of see the horizon in this picture, but it's kind of a sort of cloudy day in the background. Can't see the top of the antenna, but it does appear to be the exact same building. Just those same stark utilitarian apartment buildings littering the outside of this building. There appears to be construction equipment, and in the distance you can just see the city leading into the mountains. I mean, aside from all of this, the somewhat bleak yet colorful architecture of these utilitarian living buildings, or perhaps business office buildings, it does appear to be the exact same building. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time on the image for this one. Okay. 1427, item number 1427, object class Keter. Special containment procedures. 1427 is to be contained on site at the Ryugyong Containment Operations Center, RCOC, operated by the Foundation in partnership with the Korean People's Army, KPA. Due to the artifact's effects, Foundation personnel are not to enter the DPRK, approach to within 130 kilometers of the 1427 exclusion zone, or attempt to interact directly with the object itself. Foundation personnel are to provide remote support to on-site DPRK personnel. Under no circumstances are Foundation personnel to attempt to dissuade KPA containment staff from incorrect or unusual beliefs concerning the nature of their duties at the RCOC or the nature of their national government. So I guess this is the Foundation's disclaimer saying, what the fuck happened in 031, and also, we're just gonna, like, hands off kinda help them and just let them handle it. We are not getting involved with their government. 1427 Containment Facility, Pyongyang, DPRK external view. That's the caption for the image. An authoritarian submissive personality... As authoritarian submissive personality traits provide conditional immunity to the signal broadcast by the artifact, Foundation personnel assigned to off-site monitoring must meet the following psychological testing criteria. Standard Milgram compliance panel greater than 71. IP openness panel less than 39. IP openness panel less than 39. RWA authoritarian submission panel greater than 17. RWA conventionality panel greater than 31. At present, only 3 national governments possess citizens with conditioning suitable for containment of 1427. The Republic of Turkmenistan, the Republic of the Union of Myanmar, and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, DPRK. Of the 3 suitable containment areas, political issues render North Korea the only government suitable for long-term containment. Accordingly, embedded Foundation affiliates in UN Security Council member states... Accordingly, embedded Foundation affiliates in UN Security Council member states shall take no action tending to destabilize the DPRK, promote democratization, or permit the entry of psychologically unsuitable foreigners into the 600-meter red zone surrounding the Ryugyong complex. In the event of democratization, destabilization, or nuclear war, Foundation Intergovernmental Liaison shall attempt to transfer the object to a designated secondary containment site. So yeah, that's just their total disclaimer that they are not there to assist the government at all. They're just interested in the containment of whatever this is. In the event that no secondary containment sites are available, the primary containment site and its surrounding environment are to be thermally sterilized. Holy shit. Using non-nuclear force without regard to the risk of civilian casualties. Using presently available techniques, thermal sterilization of Pyongyang and surrounding environs bears a 91% chance of containment failure. Wow. Catastrophic containment failure is predicted to constitute an EK class event, resulting in the extinguishment of all human consciousness within approximately 215 days. Holy shit, this thing's a big threat then. No wonder why it's listed in 2 separate articles. Description: 1427 is a featureless 14 meter by 2 meter by 2 meter beryllium bronze steel. Though originally recovered in an inactive state, the artifact presently produces a directional electromagnetic pulse every 7 nanoseconds. Disrupting or jamming the pulse reduces but does not eliminate the artifact's primary effects. The device's electromagnetic effects are therefore theorized to be a carrier wave for, or side effect of, the device's primary function. Targets are selected randomly from the 20,736 (12 to the power of 4) nearest human subjects, ignoring those already exhibiting the effects of the pulse, but including those who are immune. The device appears to have no effective maximum range. On several occasions, the device has exhibited the ability to make over-the-horizon broadcasts to otherwise occluded subjects by deflecting its signal off of the Earth's ionosphere. So it's like a implement of radio waves. It must be some alien object, or maybe even a sentient SCP that's, it just appears to be, I don't know, some still object. The artifact's means of detecting human consciousness and the causative mechanism underlying its effects are presently unknown. Upon receipt of the signal, subjects permanently experience increased suggestibility, severe abulia, and short-term memory loss. These effects are secondary to the artifact's primary effect, which is substantial reduction in prefrontal SQ2 signal. Due to information recovered from SCP-, Foundation researchers presently believe that this reduced SQ2 signal corresponds to a significant reduction in or total destruction of the subject's subjective consciousness. So it destroys their personality and sort of makes them mindless almost. Like they can probably think, but not for themselves. Moderate authoritarian and submissive personality traits appear to provide conditional immunity to the effects of the broadcast. Accordingly, since its activation, government protocols have required placement in high population density areas subject to a totalitarian government. So they're saying containment of this necessitates the totalitarian regime to control the people from gaining access to it or something, I guess? 1427 was originally recovered from a Cistercian monastery in southeastern Algeria by Italian special forces in January of 1938. Laboratory notes from that period mention a rhodium carbide outer casing. Sorry, I love that song, but it's the lyrics. Embossed with a... Let me try that again. Laboratory notes from that period mention a rhodium carbide outer casing embossed with lettering in a known but poorly characterized Semitic alphabet. I don't know. That outer casing is presumed to have been destroyed or lost by Italian researchers before the object's transfer to Leipzig in 1944. So trying to explain like world wars and whatnot with this implement. Between 1938 and 1944, the governments of Germany and Italy attempted to activate the artifact, both without success. In the immediate aftermath of World War II, the object was kept in East German custody. The East German government took no recorded action with respect to the artifact. In 1947, the East German government transferred 1427 to Soviet control, who moved it to Kishtim, Chelyabinsk Oblast, USSR. In September of 1957, Soviet researchers intentionally activated 1427. Though the artifact affected human targets in its immediate surroundings, then existing features of the Soviet government prevented the EK class end of human consciousness. After attempted nuclear sterilization of the affected area, the Soviet government contacted the Foundation through intergovernmental liaisons, and the artifact was transferred into Foundation custody at Site 67, southwest of Chernihiv, Ukraine. Since initial containment, the artifact has only been transferred once, in 1986, due to predicted instability in the Soviet government. The artifact was transferred to the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Shortly thereafter, the Foundation commenced construction of the Ryugyong containment facility where the object has been stored since its completion in 1988. Addenda 1427 ETR3 Ethics Committee Dissent 1427. This isn't too long. On December 5th, 1991, a 9-member panel of the SCP Foundation Ethics Committee decided after a 2-4-3 plurality vote to actively support the government of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, North Korea, in order to effectuate the containment of 1427. In summary, the deciding plurality found the following points in favor of limited stabilization and support. Instability and increasing political openness may soon render the USSR unsuitable for containment of 1427. In the event of political instability in North Korea, the device may be safely transferred to the custody of the People's Republic of China or Indonesia. North Korea's closed borders limit the risk of exposing foreigners. Due to limited trade opportunities, the Foundation affiliates and liaisons are better able to manipulate North Korean international policy toward effective containment. Despite the clear benefits of the above, we dissent. Experimentation has demonstrated that 1427 requires no more than 12 to the power of 4 psychologically suitable individuals in close proximity to the object in order to maintain seamless containment. With that in mind, maintaining over 20 million individuals in a state of perpetual involuntary, totalitarian abjection is an unacceptable cost to impose on human subjects. While it is clear that in 1957 doing so was a necessary accession to certain facts on the ground, visualized Soviet failure to destroy the object outright, the Foundation has recruited 9,724 D-class candidates since that date, or just under half the population required to successfully contain the object. Though unclear in 1957, it is now scientifically demonstrated that totalitarian indoctrination may be recreated under laboratory conditions with relatively little sophisticated intervention by researchers. See Zimbardo P. on Obedience to Authority, reference omitted. Our failure to do so is an ethical failure of catastrophic proportions. So the Ethics Committee is trying to get D-Class to basically simulate totalitarianism to contain this object. The majority opinion in this review declined to authorize experimentation into artificial totalitarianism on the necessary scale, citing both practical and ethical concerns. They believed that it would be unacceptable to create a totalitarian society in miniature to prevent the end of all mankind. But in order to avoid creating an ethical disaster in miniature, we have authorized one writ large: totalitarianism, which selects individuals by a birthright lottery and not by any particular antisocial acts. Weird. As recent events in the USSR and elsewhere have demonstrated, totalitarian dictatorship is not a necessary feature of human society. It is a phase of development which occurred and will someday pass. It is not the Foundation's right, nor even its duty, to permanently arrest the development of the North Korean people for some greater good, no matter how great that good may be. So we almost have like a Star Trek Prime Directive going on here. The majority are demonstrably correct that taking appropriate action to contain 1427 would involve extraordinary moral compromises by the Foundation, whereas mere abdication of our responsibility shares this ethical burden with all humanity and the North Korean leadership. But when we signed our recruiting paperwork, we consented to bear that burden, to do what must be done for the greater good, no matter the cost. That we now impose this burden on the people of North Korea rather than shouldering it ourselves is an unacceptable abdication of our responsibilities as Foundation employees. For the foregoing reasons, we the undersigned dissent, reserving the right to appeal this decision to the O5 Council. Blank blank, signature omitted. Ethics Committee Supervisor Site 9, blank blank, signature omitted. Ethics Committee Supervisor Site 53. 1427 ACR 2, Summary Archaeological Report 1427. Case Report Taman Rasat Ossuary 421-1993, file with 1427. Principal Investigator Usman Azmagan, PhD, Project Phase IIA. Background: following the disputed 1427 Ethics Committee report of 5/12/1991, O5 authorized Phase 2 research towards decommissioning or permanently deactivating 1427. As part of the Team... is that Team B or 8? Team B Decommissioning Initiative, O5 rescinded Standing Order 75-128, which prohibited Foundation members from disturbing archaeological sites belonging to the Pleistocene Afro-Asiatic Culture Group, PACG. Following the order's revocation, MTF Row 293 at Laharag responded, excavating the site where 1427 was believed to originate, 71 kilometers south-southwest of the city of Taman Rasat, Algeria. Discussion: originally discovered by Aerial Radiographic Survey in 1967, the Taman Rasat ossuary was cataloged and monitored as a PACG archaeological anomaly and assigned low containment priority due to its minimal consensus risk. Upon arrival at the site in February of 1992, Row 293 found the site substantially undisturbed and the radiological hazard intact. Deep soil strata analysis discovered high levels of trinitite, PD-107, U-233, U-235, Pu-239 and radioactive decay products consistent with an incomplete fission event roughly 70,000 years prior to the site's discovery. This failure of nuclear fission appears consistent with samples taken from the Kishtim containment area after the failed detonation of the Soviet failsafe device. So a previous society tried to detonate this thing? The central site occupies a single blast crater of roughly 0.75 kilometers in diameter, centered on a rectangular depression indicating the existence of a subsurface structure. Disturbance of soil strata indicates that 1427 was likely removed from the subsurface structure at some time prior to the year 1600 AD. In addition, the site appears to have been disturbed both before and after removal of 1427. Site containment appears to have been successfully maintained after 1967. Apart from 1427, no intact artifacts were retrieved from the central area of the site. Unlike other PACG sites, intact artifacts, remains, and complete texts appear to have been systematically destroyed by later sapiens populations, except where object size or durability made destruction impracticable. The peripheral area occupies a single undisturbed geological stratum, indicating continuous low-intensity occupation between approximately 71,000 BC and 68,000 BC. Artifacts recovered from the site display features common to other PACG sites, including the following characteristics: substantial radiological contamination, midden deposition and ossuary contents indicating substantial infant mortality, vandalism or iconoclasm by archaic sapiens, use of beryllium bronze as a structural material, artifacts bearing markings in PACG Semitic rectilinear alphabet B. Can we get a picture of this? I'm kind of interested in linguist stuff, so this is an actual thing. What is this? Looks like a bunch of different things, huh? Semitic. I don't know. This? I don't know. Well, here's a bunch of symbols. Remains recovered from the site indicate cohabitation by the Homo sapiens adultu and a second unidentified hominid species provisionally designated as Homo sapiens descensus. Relative to the hominin baseline, descensus remains exhibit gigantism and functional postaxial polydactyly, with a median of 6 digits per limb. Presuming femoral proportions consistent with the human norm, the subspecies median male height was 7'6", and mean female height was 7'2". Craniometry based on recovered fragments indicates a brain volume of roughly 520 cc. Though populations of adultu increased throughout the period of cohabitation, the census populations remained static. Above the radiation-bearing geologic stratum, no members of the descensus subspecies are found, though intermittent adultu occupation continues until approximately 63,000 BC. In approximately 61,000 BC, non-resident adultu populations appear to have engaged in a concentrated effort to excavate and destroy artifacts belonging to the PACG culture, with a special focus on removing and destroying descensus remains. As few identifying artifacts related to the later adultu population remain, the reasons for this period of late iconoclasm remains obscure. Something to do with giants and radiation and evolution. Conclusion: though the intended purpose of 1427 remains obscure, its function appears to have been related to the subjugation of early Homo sapiens by Homo sapiens descensus. Resistance to nuclear attack appears to have been a high priority for PACG engineers. All remaining PACG artifacts appear to have been constructed for high resistance to neutron flux, and many have been recovered from what appear to be the sites of prehistoric nuclear attacks. See, what was I saying? So yeah, evolution might be a little different in this timeline, as PACG artifacts appear to directly interfere with nuclear fission, it is the unanimous recommendation of Row 293 that decommissioning efforts focus on conventional arms or disassembly, and that recovery of the artifact sheath or other complete PACG texts may be a containment priority. Okay, we have 1173, but do I want to do this really quick? How long is this? Oh, this is not bad. Okay, let's do this and get caught up. This is 1173. Dude, there's even more stuff. Oh, man. Okay, I'm gonna hold off on this one for a sec. Let's go check out 32. Okay, there's the page for you. 032, item number 032, object class Euclid. Special containment procedures 032 is to be housed in Automatic Containment Unit 535/15. Direct contact with 032 is to be restricted to research-relevant tasks only. Interviews, if deemed necessary, are to be carried out using the unit's remote communication array. While 032's presence is not directly harmful to the human body, exposure to it is to be limited to periods of 12 hours or less, due to its adverse effects on most beneficial microorganisms. 032 is not to be exposed to any biological material, not refined or otherwise tempered by humanity, with an emphasis on non-human living entities. For a full list of classifications, see document 032 RCL. 032 neither requires nor requested substances of other forms of comfort, or other forms of comfort. Description 032 is a Type F. Imperfect external resemblance, internally inconsistent, human simulacrum of currently unknown organs. It is composed of an outer shell of pigmented silicone, 5.5 millimeters thick, and various plastic fiber polymers, with the outward appearance of a Caucasian woman nearing the 3rd decade of life. 032's interior is composed entirely of liquid refined oil lacking any skeletal or muscle structure. Despite this, 032 is capable of locomotion and speech. So, referencing the 100 tier TARDISes, it seems like, and also, maybe just golems. Could be a golem. Perhaps a robot? 032 is capable of maintaining the illusion of humanity at a moderate distance, but becomes unconvincing at a closer range, causing mild discomfort in most observers. This effect has been deemed non-anomalous. Despite apparently possessing fully realized cognitive abilities, 032 claims that it is not sapient, acting only as an intermediary instrument of its creators. The Foundation has not been able to verify or refute this claim as of yet. So again, yeah, I remember this one. It reminds me a lot of some Doctor Who references. Like early sentient TARDISes, but not quite sentient. Humaniform TARDISes, but not quite sapient, etc. 032 possesses extreme adverse effects to any biological entity in its close vicinity and not created, willfully influenced, manipulated by, or similarly relating to humanity. While the exact nature of these effects varies, 032's presence inevitably causes severe and irreparable damage to the ability of any living organism to exchange and/or use energy. Wild flora loses its ability to photosynthesize or otherwise produce or consume energy, fauna the use of its respiratory and digestive systems, etc. This applies to microorganisms as well, though 032's effects seem to favor damage to their reproductive systems instead. It is hypothesized that the symbiotic relation to some microorganisms have to humanity is the reason for this discrepancy. So it is a humaniform intermediary, I guess cyborg, probably sent from the future, that I guess ensures humanity's existence so much that it kills life around it. As long as it's not made of humanity's will, it hates it. Reminds me a lot of something else in the Doctor Who lore. They're almost like angels, but there's very few of them made. And it's like a imperfect war machine. Can't remember the name though. It's in the books. 032 was discovered sitting on the doorstep of the inner compound of Foundation Site Double Blank near Blank, Slovakia, When questioned by Foundation security personnel, O32 explained its anomalous effects and claimed it was there to be stored. Surveillance footage showed no record of the time of its arrival, and it is not yet known how O32 came to know Site Double Blank's location or approach it without being spotted. Again, humaniform, near-sapient TARDIS almost. When asked for his reason for seeking the Foundation custody, O32 replied that it was there at the command of its creators, seeking indefinite storage until claimed. Addendum Interview O32A. Note, this interview was recorded near the time of O32's initial containment by Dr. Alexander Kovac, Site Double Blank resident psychologist following its initial examination by Site security. Begin log. Dr. Kovac, before we begin, there's something I feel I should ask you, since security so often neglects doing so. It's not strictly conforming to protocol, but I find it tends to make things easier. O32, I was instructed to cooperate. Kovac, good, very good. Tell me then, what is your name? O32, I don't have one. People have names. I'm not one. Kovac, is that so? What did your so-called creators call you then? O32, they didn't. Kovac, surely they had to refer to you somehow. O32, I am a vessel of their will and nothing else. They never needed a call, they never will. Kovac, in that case, would you mind if I refer to you as O32? O32, I was instructed to cooperate. Kovac, so you said. Tell me then, what is the purpose of your coming here? O32, I am to be stored here until collected. Kovac, security told me that much, but why here and collected by whom? O32, collected by the ones they wish to torment, and stored here because in finding me here he will suffer further. Kovac, is that so? Is that person you refer to part of this organization then? Do your creators bear some grudge towards a particular operative? O32, he is not one of you, merely a one-time sympathizer of sorts. He believes you tried to help him once. And if he is forced here, if he finds me here, you will die. That will hurt him. They have no interest in any of you or your organization. You are here as a tool, just as I am. I just feel like this whole entry is a Doctor Who reference. Hold on, we disconnected from the internet. Okay, we should be reconnected in just a hot second. I thought I saw something weird with Twitch chat disconnecting. How long was the timeout this time? 300 seconds until reconnection, oh my god. Okay. That's fine. Let's see, where was I? Hey, we're reconnected in Twitch chat at least. I'm just gonna keep going from where I am. Let's see. Kovac, who is this man then? What did he do to earn this sort of treatment from your creators? O32, he did not know his place. Won when he should have lost, was proud when he should have been humbled, was wasted with gifts too precious for abuse. Kovac, and you are here as punishment? O32, he was already punished, severely, forced away from kin and kind, to endlessly wander, to destroy against his will, to poison humanity by his very presence. Eternal solitude flavored by ceaseless guilt. A masterwork of torment, they say. Again, just the Doctor, dude. Kovac, if that's the case, why are you here? O32, because even in this existence, there is the occasional moment of solace. At times he may yet look to the world and see things he will not destroy. Look to nature and feel warm wonder, and bask in the false light of ancient, moldy memories. It keeps him sane, gives him hope. That will not serve. Hence my presence. I am to be his last undoing, a hastening to the end of reason. Kovac, and how will your presence do that? Are you meant to deceive him in some way? Is that why you look the way you do? O32, in a manner of speaking. Eventually his wanderings will lead him here, to me, in a day or a month or a century, and he will recognize me and see what they think of his precious memories, how they mock them, He'll understand that because of his actions, she is forever beyond his grasp, and all that remains to him is me, a simulacrum as artificial as his hope. When he finds me, I will attach myself to him, and he will watch the mockery of his memories destroy his last source of solace, and that will be that. Kovac. You said he will recognize you. Why? O32. I used to be his wife. End log. Interview O32B. Note, this interview was held 6 months following O32's initial containment, as part of a series of interviews meant to evaluate O32's cognitive abilities and personality, or lack thereof. Begin log. O32, I hate her. Kovac, well, that's certainly a way to start an interview. Care to elaborate? O32, the one I was made to look like. My mold. I hate her. Kovac, an interesting sentiment for you to have, considering your repeated assurance that you possess no consciousness or feelings of your own. O32, I don't. I hate her because they want me to. It serves their purpose. Dr. Kovac, how do you get that impression? O32, the first thing they did after creating me was to show her to me. It's not something they often do. Kovac, I don't follow. O32, interfere with those who pass beyond their halls. They might be vengeful, spiteful, even cruel, but they take their duties very seriously. Just to show her to me, to risk disturbing her final rest. They wouldn't do that without a purpose. Man, this entire one, I remember the first time I read this, it feels so much like, compassion. It feels like the Type 102 TARDIS. Kovac and O32, she was beautiful, so peaceful, serene, whole. Even gone, even dead, I could see the essence of who she used to be, of who she still was and forever will be, her soul. They told me she didn't get to live for all that long, but when she lived, she was herself, she was alive, and so I hated her. O32, do you know what it feels like to be made as a mockery? In every line of that smooth, silent face, I saw a twisted reflection in my own. Fragrant skin to molded plastic, soft hair to synthetic fiber, blood to oil, soul to nothing at all. Kovac, excuse me if this sounds presumptuous, but I can't imagine feelings like this coming from anywhere but yourself. O32 shakes head. Can't you see this is all a part of their plan? When he finds me, when he sees what the brothers created just to punish him further, he'll go mad. Kovac, because of what they did to the memory of his wife? O32, not only that, because he'll see me. He'll see how much I hate her, and how much I hate myself for not being her. Hate being here at all. Kovac, and then what? O32, then? A final realization. Kovac, and what would that be? O32, he never won. End log. Okay, that was kind of a rip tear through the cosmos with that one. Let's just continue on. O33. There's the page. No image. O33, item number O33, Object Class Euclid, Special Containment Procedures. O33 should be inscribed on any single sheet of Oh, this one's good. Should be inscribed on any single sheet of irregularly shaped and handcrafted paper, papyrus, canvas, or vellum when not involved in active observation or study. The dimensions of the paper-like product should have no parallel borders, no right angles, and no sides length should be equal to any other O33 safe dimensions. When contained in this manner, the paper-like product should be secured in a locked, non-combination storage vault at least 30 meters from any computing or recording device. Logs for checkout or check-in of O33 should be filled out at the minimum safe distance of 30 meters to avoid possible contamination of the paper product or electronic device if the log is kept in. This is definitely like a cognito, just information hazard, but I don't even think it's dangerous too much. They just contain it so well. At precisely 2,000 seconds of viewing, research must stop? Wait. Okay, never mind. When removed for study, O33 can be copied to a white/chalkboard with O33 safe dimensions by Class D staff. Upon transfer to the white/chalkboard, the paper-like product that had contained O33 should be incinerated. Observation and study should take place in a secured conference room at least 30 meters from any computing or recording device for the maximum 25,060-second viewing 2,560-second viewing window. All observations or notes should be made on O33 safe materials. Under no circumstances should any notes regarding O33 leave the storage facility or be input into a computing or recording device. At precisely 2,000 seconds of viewing, research must stop, and O33 should be transferred to a new O33 safe paper-like product and returned to storage by Class D staff. The white chalkboard utilized in research must be incinerated as soon as possible after the transfer is complete, regardless of whether O33 has faded naturally from the surface at 2560 seconds. Whether O33 safe procedures halt or merely slow the deleterious effects of O33 is unknown. It is theorized the irregular borders and handcrafting by mathematically unpredictable humans somehow disrupt the logic which allows O33 to function. So it is literally like a math virus in reality. Description: O33 appears as a field of complex mathematical symbols ranging from simple O33 appears as a field of complex mathematical symbols ranging from simple layman identifiable representations to those only interpretable by highly trained mathematicians. The sum of the symbols is equal to a previously unknown integer, designated theta prime by Professor Hutchinson, of immediate value between blank and blank. Theta prime, theta sigma. Just feels like more Doctor Who reference. As all modern mathematical calculations are performed lacking the knowledge or use of O33, its introduction into any system organized without it begins eroding the numerical and eventually structural integrity of said system. This effect extends to O33's transfer to any paper-like, defined as paper, vellum, papyrus, canvas, surface not possessing O33 safe dimensions, or any computing or recording device that it is input into. If inscribed onto any other material, O33 fades into unintelligibility in precisely 2560 seconds. In addition, O33 has shown an ability to leap from an O33 safe material to a manufactured or electronic material, which it can destabilize in at least one instance, incident report O33D, requiring the institution of a 30-meter safe distance for electronic devices and paper-like products without O33 safe dimensions. So it's an important mathematical formula that disrupts information systems, so it has to be contained with very particular procedures to both maintain it and also just keep it from spreading or fucking stuff up, I don't know. There is currently no O33 safe specification for electronic storage. Single blank of the double blank operational research projects involving O33 are dedicated to finding such a method for electronic storage. Double blank operational research projects are dedicated to the application of O33 as a neutralizing factor for potentially hostile machine logic-based SCP objects. Clarifying commentary from Professor Hutchinson follows for non-specialist staff in Document O33A. Effects may be reviewed in Document O33Q. Document O33A, debriefing of Professor Hutchinson after first observation. Transcript edited for clarity. Professor Hutchinson. Every schoolchild knows that 2 + 2 is 4. The solid mathematical certainty of numerical order and value is the basis for all logic-based systems. We know that after 2 comes 3, and after 3 comes 4. What this formula proves is that we missed a number somewhere. Imagine if all our technology was based on the belief that after 4 came 6. We simply don't know or conceive of 5. That is, in essence, what this formula proves. We missed a number. Professor Hutchinson. I can't tell you why the handcrafted vellum works best. I can only surmise that it displaces mathematical predictability in 2 ways. 1. The irregularity of the crafting process due to human error serves to eliminate any traces of irregularity that would be found in a machine-created product. 2. The irregular borders seem to confuse it somehow, as if it gets locked up looking for a pattern to identify and use that as an escape hatch. I'll tell you this though, I don't think it should be left on anything longer than a few days. It will find a pattern eventually. Hutchinson. I don't think it destroys anything. I think it tries integrating itself into our system, and our system can't hold it. It's like trying to cram another book into a full bookshelf. If you get a hammer, you can get it in there, but the whole shelf bursts eventually. If it gets out onto the internet, we will potentially experience a full IT infrastructure collapse within hours. Document 33Q, test results, trial 033 Delta 5. 033 inscribed onto a single sheet of standard 8.5, parentheses 8.5 by 11, parentheses 11, inch manufactured white copy paper, hereafter X1. A second sheet of identical paper, hereafter X2, placed 30 centimeters away. 80 seconds. Symbols consistent with the content of 033. Ooh. Excuse me, I just had a really bad burp. Ooh. Ooh. Jeez. 160 seconds. No, 80 seconds. Symbols consistent with the content of 033 begin appearing on X2, X1 unchanged. 160 seconds. Full content of 033's formulae appear on the surface of X2, X1 unchanged. 320 seconds, X1, X2 both appear wet. Symbols still visible. 640 seconds, X1 is now roughly 1 part, parentheses apparently water, and 5 parts pulp-like substance, still filling an 8.5, parentheses 8.5 by 11, parentheses 11 inch flat plane. Symbols become unintelligible. X2 still appears wet. Symbols visible. 1280 seconds. X1 no longer visible at all. Liquid part appears to have evaporated. Pulp-like substance apparently sublimated. X2 now roughly 1 part liquid and 5 parts pulp-like substance. Still filling an 8.5 by 11 inch flat plane. Symbols unintelligible. 2560 seconds, X2 no longer visible at all. Liquid part appears to have evaporated. Pulp-like substance apparently sublimated. So my theory with this one is it's kind of like quantum mnemonics from Doctor Who. It's the idea of like a higher system being used at play here. Yeah, mathematical. And I feel like the fact that it spreads and then the previous surface is destroyed is just a demonstration of the quantum mnemonics, maybe? Maybe these scientists researching it are inputting a formula that proves that it works and also manipulates objects or something. But either way, very interesting. Okay, 034. Here's the page. I'm just gonna grab a drink really quick too, hold on. Oh man, that burp really fucked me up. It was one of those like acidy ones. Very acid reflux. Okay, that's much better. Okay. 034, item number 034, object class safe. Special containment procedures. 034 is to be kept in a secure room with access granted only to level 4 personnel. 034 itself will be kept in a locked case that is under 24-hour surveillance. When not in lab conditions, 034's protective sheath cannot be removed under any circumstances. Any personnel in contact with 034 must be placed under a 24 observation period until their identities can be confirmed. Description: 034 is a primitive knife constructed out of pure obsidian. Tests reveal that 034 is approximately 1,000 years old. Despite its crude method of construction and age, 034 is still incredibly sharp and requires no maintenance to retain its edge. Can tell I'm getting tired. I'm stumbling over words left and right. We're gonna finish at least 10 tonight, though. Okay. Expert analysis hypothesizes that O34 may be of South American origin, and that it may have been used in Native American rituals. Several accounts from Spanish conquistadors exploring the blank region support this hypothesis, with detailed writings on how blank priests would flay their victims alive with similar knives and wear their skin as tribute to their gods. O34 has the ability to allow its bearer to take on the appearance of another individual. This is a spy reference. TF2 all the way. If O34 is used to cut a piece of flesh from a living individual, and that piece of flesh is placed against the skin of another individual, the second individual would take on not only the appearance but all physical characteristics of the first individual. Testing has shown that the minimum amount of skin required can be as little as 1 square centimeter. So there is a logic to it, oddly enough. However, testing has also revealed that the amount of time the transformation lasts is directly proportional to the amount of flesh used. The ratio of time the transformation lasts to flesh used has been measured at approximately 1 hour for every square centimeter used. Once the time limit is passed, the affected individual will revert to their original form. Analysis of O34's ability shows that its method of mimicking another individual is nearly flawless. Not only does O34 change its bearer's physical appearance, but their actual physical attributes as well, including height, weight, muscle mass, bone density, hair growth, eyesight, strength, physical medical conditions, and even DNA. The only physical traits that are not carried over in the transformation process are wounds caused by O34 itself. Biodata. Subjects still retain their original personality and memories while transformed. Even though the process is nearly instantaneous, taking only a few seconds, human test subjects have described the transformation process as extremely painful. Subjects also may suffer psychological trauma depending on the extent of their physical transformation. Side effects are widely it's wildly that I saw. Side effects are especially serious if the subject takes on the appearance of a person with differing gender or with wildly different physical attributes. However, in order to function properly, the individuals who have their flesh cut off by O34 must still be biologically alive to maintain the transformation. Should the individual whose identity has been stolen expire, the effect immediately wears off. Further details may be found in Lab Report O34A. Also, O34 only appears to work on human subjects. Cross-species experiments with O34 have resulted in data expunged. O34 came into Foundation possession when an imposter, Sasibaka, disguised as Dr. Blank, attempted to infiltrate Site Double Blank. The imposter was apprehended when authorities discovered the real Dr. Blank tied up in his home with a large portion of his right arm skinned. Further details may be found in Post-Interrogation Report 2211. Lab Report O34A. We've decided to test several scenarios dealing with the limits of O34's capabilities. Test 1. Sample taken from deceased human cadaver and applied to subject D452. There is no observable effect. Test 2. Sample taken from D532 and applied to D452. D452 successfully mimics D532's appearance. Upon termination of D532, D452 immediately reverts back to original form. Test 3. Sample taken from D433 while under a medically induced coma and applied to subject D452. D452 successfully mimics D433's appearance and manages to maintain the transformation and consciousness. Test 4. Sample taken from a brain-dead medical patient who suffered a massive brain hemorrhage and applied to D452. D452 successfully mimics the patient's appearance but immediately loses consciousness upon transformation. Very odd. D452 does not regain consciousness until the transformation period expires. D452 retains no memory of the event. Man, Ian Stocker, bro, so good. This is a Sims 2 track, surprisingly. Test 5, sample taken from D625 who suffered a broken arm due to a confrontation with security staff. D452 successfully mimics D625's appearance, including the broken arm. D452's broken arm is re-mended when the transformation period expires. Test 6. Sample taken from terminally ill medical patient and applied to D452. The patient's terminal illness was caused by an inherent genetic defect. D452 successfully mimics the patient's appearance as well as the patient's illness. Both the terminally ill patient and D452 expire at the same time, after which D452 reverts back to original form. That's fucked. Test 7. Sample taken from a chimpanzee and applied to D460. Why can't I say this one? Applied to D466. D460. It's so weird. D466. D466 experiences rapid growth of hair across their entire body. There are otherwise no other significant physical or physiological changes. Body hair disappears when the transformation period expires. Test 8. Sample taken from an Atlantic salmon and applied to D466. There's no observable effect. Test 9. Under O5 authorization, a sample taken from SCP quadruple blank is applied to D466. D466 exhibits extreme adverse reaction upon transformation and data expunged, resulting in significant damage to a testing environment, multiple injuries among test and security staff, and the death of D466. Testing of anomalous humanoids with O34 is suspended indefinitely. Post-interrogation report 2211. As per standard operating procedure, we first attempted to interrogate the prisoner via non-violent and non-invasive means. However, when such methods proved ineffective, we began to implement conventional interrogation techniques. While partially successful, we deemed it necessary to use SCP triple blank, SCP triple blank, SCP triple blank, and SCP triple blank. We managed to learn the following facts. The prisoner had extensive knowledge on the existence of the Foundation and its inner workings. The prisoner had extensive knowledge on other SCP-related agencies and groups. The prisoner was not acting under any official capacity from any government agency. The prisoner obtained O34 and its instructions on its operation from an unknown benefactor. The prisoner was given very specific instructions to infiltrate Site double blank and maintain his position until further notice. The prisoner had enough samples of Dr. Blank to stay within Site double blank for double blank days. Regrettably, the prisoner did not survive interrogation. Agent Blank. I guess you could say it's safe, but not really. Transfiguration weapon. Very accurate. Alright, let's move on to O35. I think we're just going to skip cross-links for now, unless it seems very related. And, yeah, I'm just going to close these off. For the numbered ones, we'll come back to them someday. For, like, off-topic side clicks, I don't know. Maybe someday. Okay, depiction of O35 without its ever-present secretions. Here's an image of O35. It appears to just be a sad mask inside of a glass cage on top of maybe granite or obsidian. A plinth holding up the mask, as well as something, presumably the same material, propping up the mask. It appears to be in a simple slate, or again, granite tiled room, and just bare white walls with a little bit of scuff marks everywhere. It's a typical mask of maybe a Greek or Roman period, maybe. It is in very good condition, and it just depicts perhaps a Grecian man. I say that because of the hair bead and also the swirls on the eyebrows. It is a very exaggerated face of a sad or, I guess, disdainfully gawking man. And yeah, again, they have like some sort of head wrap or hair beads or something. Yeah, he just looks very disturbed, and who knows. Alright, let's check out this object. Item number O35, Object Class Keter. Special Containment Procedures O35 is to be kept within a hermetically sealed glass case, no fewer than 10 centimeters, 4 inches thick. This case is to be contained within a steel, iron, and lead shielded room at all times. Doors are to be triple locked at all times, with the exception of following personnel in or out. With the exception of allowing personnel in or out. No fewer than 2 armed guards are to be posted at any time. Guards must remain outside at all times and are not allowed within the containment room under any circumstances. A trained psychologist is to remain on site at all times. Research personnel are not to touch O35 at any time. O35 must be moved to a new sealed case every 2 weeks. The previous case must be disposed of via SCP-101, as it shows no adverse reactions to O35's corruption. Anyone who comes into contact with O35 when it is in possession of a host is to be given an immediate psychological evaluation. Here's just a quick scroll through of 101. Again, I'm just going to ignore cross-links for the rest of the night. Description: O35 appears to be a white porcelain comedy mask, although at times it will change to tragedy. In these events, all existing visual records such as photographs, video footage, even illustrations of O35 automatically change to reflect its new appearance. A highly corrosive and degenerative viscous liquid constantly seeps from the eye and mouth holes of O35. Anything coming into contact with this substance slowly decays over a period of time, depending on the material, until it has decayed completely into a pool of the original contaminant. Glass seems to react the slowest to the effects of the item, hence the construction choice of its immediate container. Living organisms that come into contact with the substance react much the same way, with no chance of recovery. Origin of the liquid is unknown. Liquid is only visible from the front and does not emerge, or is even visible from the other side. Subjects within 1.5 to 2 meters, 5 to 6 feet, of O35 are in visual contact with it, experience a strong urge to put it on. Stone mask confirmed? When O35 is placed on the face of an individual, an alternate brainwave pattern from O35 overlaps that of the original host, effectively snuffing it out and causing brain death to the subject. Holy fuck. Subject then claims to be the consciousness contained within O35. The bodies of possessed subjects decay at a highly accelerated rate, eventually becoming little more than mummified corpses. This is actually JoJo's stone mask. Nevertheless, O35 has demonstrated the ability to remain in cognitive control of a body, experiencing severe structural damage. Even if the subject's body literally decays to the point where motion is not mechanically possible, no effect is found to be had when placed on the face of an animal. Conversations with O35 have proven to be informative. Researchers have learned various details about other SCP objects and history in general, as O35 claims to have been at many momentous events. O35 displays a highly intelligent and charismatic personality, being both amiable and flattering to all those who speak with it. O35 is scored in the 99th percentile on all intelligence and aptitude tests administered to it, and appears to have a photographic memory. However, psychological analysis has discovered O35 to possess a highly manipulative nature, capable of forcing sudden and profound changes to interviewers' psychological state. O35 is proven to be highly sadistic, prompting some to commit suicide and transforming others into near-mindless servants with linguistic persuasion alone. O35 has stated that it has intimate knowledge of the workings of the human mind, and implied that it could change anyone's views if given enough time. Additional, O35 was found in a sealed crypt in an abandoned house in Venice in 18 double blank. God, this feels like a JoJo reference. Venezia. Addendum O3511. O35 has been found to be able to possess anything that has a humanoid shape, including mannequins, corpses, and statues. O35 has been able to motivate all into movement, removing the need to expose live subjects to O35. Still, anything it possesses inevitably decays into motionlessness. Addendum O3502. O35 has facilitated an escape attempt, convincing several of the research staff to aid it in its bid for freedom. Insurrection failed. All staff that have been in contact with O35 have been terminated, and mandatory psychiatric evaluations have been implemented for all personnel coming in contact with O35. Addendum O3503. It has been determined that O35 is capable of telepathy, whether or not it possesses a host, even penetrating to the subconscious of others, and using the knowledge it finds to its advantage. Extreme caution is advised when choosing subjects to converse with O35. I see a dank reference here. Addendum O3504. O35 has expressed an interest in other SCPs, most notably 4715 and 682. We might read 682, that's kind of a crazy one. Dr. Blank has expressed worry that should O35 bond with either, their regenerative qualities would negate its corruption and give it a permanent host. Okay, here's 4715. And 682. This one's kinda crazy. We might read it, I'll see. I'll keep this one open until maybe the end. There's an MP3 with this one, though, fuck. Alright. Yeah, we might skip ahead and read that one, because that's a big one. Addendum O3505. After several more escape attempts, and after reviewing O35's incident record, High Command has ordered that it be permanently sealed within the facility and prohibited from being allowed any more hosts. Several personnel have protested against this, with some even erupting into violence. As a direct result, all personnel that have come into contact with O35 have been terminated. Going forward, all personnel that deal with O35 are to be rotated frequently, and contact is to be limited even to its dormant state to as little as possible. Addendum O3506. Personnel within 10 meters of O35 have recently reported feeling unease, stating that they can hear unintelligible whispering. Several others have suffered from severe migraines. Object has been monitored, but there is no change in its dormant behavior, and no sounds have been recorded. The motion to reinstate O35's host privileges has been brought up once more, if only on a temporary basis, to discover these new changes in the object's behavior. Denied. Addendum O3507. The walls of O35's containment cell have suddenly begun secreting a black substance. Tests on the substance have revealed it to be human blood, although highly contaminated with several foreign and unknown agents. Substance is corrosive, having a pH of 4.5, and prolonged exposure to the walls has proven to be detrimental to their structural integrity. More notably, it seems to be forming patterns on the walls. Several segments seem to be paragraphs in various languages, including Italian, Latin, Greek, and Sanskrit. Translation is pending. Other segments appear to be diagrams depicting ritualistic sacrifice and mutilation, often for the arcane benefit of the person committing them. Again, JoJo reference. Several staff members have been shocked to note that all of the sacrifices bear an uncanny resemblance to various personnel and their loved ones, often in conflicting positions. Researchers, while in the room examining these newly formed patterns, have complained of hearing loud whispering and high-pitched, unnerving laughter at irregular intervals. Personnel in this section, working daily and around O35's containment unit, have suffered catastrophic morale damage with an all-time high in suicide rates in staff in that area, whether or not they have ever had contact with O35. The only change in O35's dormant behavior is regarding its contained glass case. Degradation of the case has increased to a high degree, enough so that the glass will occasionally shatter, causing a wide dispersal of O35's contaminant. This occurs quite often at the most inopportune times, so far resulting in 6 casualties and 3 fatalities of both research and cleanup staff. So I'm assuming the black goo, the high pH blood leaking from the walls is probably bits of like human skin and stuff aggregated through this psychic mask. It probably just melts like all the dust. Addendum O3511. In light of the mass suicide/homicide of the members of the research team tasked with translating the passages garnered from O35's containment cell, morale damage in the area, and general loss of staff dealing with O35 to either death or insanity, it has been decided to coat the inner and outer walls of its containment cell with SCP-148, which has proved well in the containment of SCP-132. See document 13201, in order to hopefully block out the high levels of negativity being emitted by O35. So I'm just going to quickly scroll through these two cross-linked pages. Sometimes we'll miss parts of pages, but that's okay. I just sort of want to show them for future reference. Okay. Let's see. The use of 148 has worked well, causing morale and suicide rates to return to near pre-SCP-035 rates. However, the material appears to facilitate the negativity within the cell, causing a veritable greenhouse effect inside. Personnel inside the cell have stated that they feel a heavy sense of dread, fear, anger, and general depression, as well as hearing constant, nearly inaudible whispering upon immediate entry. A prolonged stay causes severe migraines, suicidal tendencies, heavy hemorrhaging of blood vessels around the eyes and inside the mouth and nose, general hostility to others, and for the whispering to increase to almost deafening volumes, intersected by a constant mocking laughter. Exposure of more than 3 hours inevitably results in the subject falling into a deep psychosis and attempting to harm either themselves or others. Most spoke in Latin or Greek, despite the fact that several did not previously know how to speak said languages beforehand. This is quite a powerful mask object, psychic mask. The presence of blood in both word and diagram formations has increased disproportionately, the walls becoming cluttered and the formations beginning to overlap each other. The substance has proven to be both difficult to clean and even more corrosive than was originally recorded, with a pH of roughly 2.4. General estimation gives the current walls a life of 2 months before they will need replacement. It is becoming gradually more and more difficult to contain O35, and the debate to reinstate its host privileges has once again come up, denied. Addendum O3510, the walls, ceiling, and floor of O35's containment cell have now been completely saturated in blood. All personnel entering and guarding the area must wear full hazmat protection suits. Constant cleaning efforts are being instated. Constant cleaning efforts are being instated. Addendum O3511. The magnitude, intensity, and recurrence of the phenomena that occur within O35's containment cell have increased to an alarming degree. The cell door has been known to become locked of its own accord while personnel are inside, and unable to be opened for a period of time. Appendages form out of the larger puddles of blood and often attempt to grab or harm personnel near them. Blurry apparitions have started appearing to staff. Electronic devices no longer work inside the cell, and the light cannot be turned on, though there is no physical reason why it does not work, forcing those entering to use non-electric based light sources. Cleaning measures are having no discernible effect on the cell, and the walls are degrading at a very high rate, forcing them to be replaced within a week at best, although the blood makes it nearly impossible to properly achieve this. O35 may have to be moved to a new cell entirely, with the old one sealed off and disengaged from the rest of the facility. So cognitohazard, telepathic, sentient, ectoentropic? I guess maybe that's a reference to the blood generation, maybe it is ectoplasm. Game over. Once again, Vampire's Stone Mask reference. Did you know there's JoJo references in Castlevania? I had no idea until years later. I mean, I've played a lot of them. Okay, there's the page for O36. The caption for O36 says, Yazidi holy men shortly before the pilgrimage. And the image for 036. 036.2.jpg. It appears to just be a caravan of people and camels, perhaps out in the desert. There's some shrubbery, wildlife behind them. And it appears to just be a caravan of camels and people moving through the desert. It also looks like maybe there's tire tracks in the sand or dirt. Aside from that, it is a bright sunny day, or potentially just a bright cloudy day. In the distance appears to be maybe a water tower or something, or maybe that's just nothing. But yeah, there's a couple of people standing. It looks like there's a few people on the camels. It really just looks like a caravan of people. The person in the front has what appears to be a turban or a helmet, and white clothing, brown boots for what appears to be travel in the desert. It looks like this person is holding a staff. I don't know if that's a person or not, and it looks like there's a person to the left as well. Behind this left side camel, black shirt, tan pants. The camel is emitting a shadow. Okay, let's see what 036 is. I do remember reading this one as well. 036, item number 036, object class safe. Special containment procedures. Once every year, a mobile task force is dispatched from Containment Command 02 and expunged to Site 22A to defend the runway and airport located there. The civilian facility is to be cleared of all non-SCP personnel by 0400 hours of September 23rd, and none are allowed to return until sunrise the next day. On October 1st, all civilians must be evacuated again before sunrise, will not be allowed onto Site 22A until the return of the pilgrimage flight. Pilgrims in transit from the arrival flight, this is reminding me of the Langoliers, awaiting departure on the pilgrim flight may only be cross-examined by researchers with level 3 security level clearance or higher. Description: 036 includes the location, Site 22A, a small airport in the Mosul region of northern Iraq, and Site 22B, the destination of passengers boarding at Site 22A. The key components of 036 are the arrival flight, a passenger plane that varies in make and model from year to year that arrived shortly before dawn on September 23. It appears on radar about 30 to 40 kilometers away from Site 22A. When it lands, pilgrims exit the plane and enter the terminal. No crew have ever left the plane. Observations have only revealed a masked pilot and co-pilot. This plane leaves quickly after pilgrims exit and does not wait for clearance to take off, nor does it identify itself upon approach for landing. The pilgrims, people of the Yazidi faith that exit the arrival plane, who are said to be undergoing the Kiras Guhorin. Each year they are examined and identified as various people of the Yazidi faith that have died during the previous year. This is done through birth certificates, photo IDs, specific knowledge questions, and when possible, fingerprinting. So it's like a temporal anomaly, maybe? Most have been known to be friendly and amicable, though most are reluctant to give details about the Kiras Guhorin. In the past, all have shown to be unable to recognize family and friends, or been able to remember any information behind what short-term memory would normally allow. In the late afternoon of September 23rd, most pilgrims begin to emphasize how important it is that their pilgrimage must begin. At that time, they file onto the pilgrimage flight plane and depart, never to be seen again. Yeah, I think I know where this ends. I think we get a train or something here too. Or maybe there's another one I'm thinking of. The pilgrimage flight. A passenger plane provided by SCP personnel for the transport of the pilgrims. It is manned by a crew of trained Yazidi holy men. The crew are typically never able to elaborate upon details of the pilgrimage or what the Kiras Guhorin actually is. SCP equipment on board function optimally, but recorded data will only slightly increase our understanding of the pilgrimage each year. Though the flight is gone for 7 days, the crew and recorded data are only able to account for a few hours. Days are missing from time recording equipment and cameras, though nothing abnormal is ever observed. The plane disappears from radar and visual contact is lost about 50 to 60 kilometers away from Site 22A, until it returns about sunrise on October 1. Site 22B, the designation of the pilgrimage plane, is a small airport consisting of a runway and single building located at coordinates expunged. It has only been observed by pilgrimage crew and cameras on the plane. It does not appear on satellite images, and attempts to reach it on foot have failed, once with disastrous results. Cameras have trouble focusing on the area as the heat from the ground usually causes a mirage-like visual effect on all objects more than a few dozen meters from the plane. A flyover with an SCP reconnaissance plane several weeks before the pilgrimage revealed an undeveloped land and what looked like an ancient stone statue. In the 1990s, SCP Mobile Task Force Sigma-4 attempted to reach Site 22B during the time of the pilgrimage. Upon the approach, communication was lost and the task force was never heard from again. No other exploration attempts are advised during the 7-day pilgrimage. Originally, the Kurdish-speaking Yazidi people around Mosul secretly performed the pilgrimage themselves. Pilgrims from the east were escorted by masked armed guards on camelback into the care of Yazidi holy men. It has been explained that the holy men would then take the pilgrims west to their land of the dead, where the pilgrims would wait to be reborn back into the Yazidi people. The Kiraz Guhorin, literally Kurdish for changing garments, is used to describe the belief of reincarnation that lesser souls of the Yazidi undergo. While the actual pilgrimage was done in secret, a symbolic pilgrimage and Kiraz Guhorin are performed every year at this time by other Yazidi. During the 1960s, land acquisition by Kurds and Muslims, attacks by Turks, and punitive laws by the Islamic Iraqi government restricted the movements and customs of the Yazidi. During that time, the Foundation stepped in and offered aid in the way of an advantageous clause that granted SCP planes unrestricted access to airport facilities in the area. Almost immediately, mysterious planes carrying pilgrims from the east began landing at the local airport, and an elusive airport at the destination appeared as well. So it might not have anything to do with airplanes, it's just their modern method of travel right now, but the ritual must commence. Okay, let's move on to O37. This has been fun tonight, but I'm ready to finish it off too, so hopefully we have some short, easy ones. Okay, there's the page. O37, item number O37, object class Euclid. Special containment procedures. O37 is magnetically contained in a subterranean complex known as Site 22. Object size, spectral signature, and temperature are constantly monitored both on-site and remotely from Site 98. The primary containment chamber is lined with heat-conducting, radiation-resistant, nanopeak GFW polymer tiles and evacuated of any atmosphere. Heat from the object is radiated into the surrounding rock. Should enclosure integrity become compromised, the emergency system will generate a low-power argon plasma shield. This is projected to provide a minimum of 4 hours for on-site engineers to effect necessary repairs before the object breaches containment. In the contingency that stellar evolution proceeds ahead of projections and a nova event appears imminent, or if containment failure is otherwise unavoidable, any remaining project staff are authorized to initiate the Dwak Protocol. Dwak? Want to Dwak about it? Description: O37 appears to be a star, approximately 5 centimeters, 2 inches in diameter, with a luminosity of about... What is this? Star? Asterisk, okay. With a luminosity of about 1 times 10 to the negative 12th times that of our sun and a surface temperature of about 5,000 Kelvin, determined by UBVRI analysis. The origin of O37 is unknown. However, analysis suggests that it shares many properties in common with a typical main sequence star other than its anomalously small size. It is theorized to have entered the Earth's magnetosphere via the North Magnetic Pole. The object was discovered in 19 double blank above the Beaufort Sea at approximately the North Magnetic Pole. Intense electromagnetic interference was reported by Canadian Forces Station CFS Alert, followed by an extremely bright object descending toward the ocean from the sky. The SCP's Guardian responded and discovered the object wavering in an erratic trajectory about 200 meters above the surface of the water. Once containment procedures were devised, it was transported to Site-32 for study. Containment and transport of O37 has been achieved by the use of powerful electromagnets, to which the artifact aligns itself according to its own magnetic field. The primary challenge to containment thus far has been its powerful electromagnetic emissions, which are intense enough to be easily seen by the naked eye from high Earth orbit. Its current enclosure is located deep underground to prevent detection and to facilitate radiative cooling into the surrounding bedrock. In effect, the entire facility and the surrounding volume of the Earth's crust act as a massive heat sink. Okay, so they have a star in containment. Addendum A, over the past double blank years of study, the star has undergone a shift in emitted EM radiation, suggesting that it is undergoing stellar evolution at a vastly accelerated rate. If standard stellar models hold up, this will soon result in an increase in radius by a factor of 100 to 300 times, and a concomitant increase in radiated energy. And emergency containment contingencies are being studied for that eventuality. Further progression of the star's life cycle will likely terminate in a stellar nova, which is estimated to have a yield of blank. Extrapolations predict this to occur in blank. Research is underway for a method to arrest this development, or to transport O37 a safe distance from the planet before it occurs. The Dwak Protocol. This is actually on this page. This is not long. I thought it was going to be a whole other page. I don't know why I zoomed out for that. Sent August 5th, 1977 to O5 Council from Dr. Innes. Subject O37 Emergency Neutralization Research Body. Sirs and Madams, the agents embedded with the U.S. Department of Defense have managed to alter the project requirement for the NASA Orbiter program. The vehicle will now be designed with enough space to accommodate O37 and a temporary containment apparatus in order to facilitate transport off-planet. However, I continue to have reservations. Modern rocket technology simply is not reliable enough for the needs of this project. A single mistake could lead to launch failure and subsequent loss of containment, possibly catastrophically. Even a successful launch would have to proceed perfectly, lest the result be visible to observations and instruments and possibly the naked eye around the world. There are numerous artifacts contained by the Foundation which might allow us to transport O37 safely and cost-effectively to an adjacent dimension, universe, or esoteric domain. SCP triple blank in particular might prove especially convenient for this purpose, considering the outcomes of recent attempts to explore it and the difficulty of left side bracket. Neutralization of SCP-037 might thus serve the added purpose of reducing or removing the threat posed by that anomaly as well. I implore you to reconsider the Dwak proposal submitted in light of these concerns. End message. It's a sun. Nothing too interesting about it, but it is very scientific seeming. Okay, there's O38, let's get into this. Item number O38, Object Class Safe. Special Containment Procedure O38 is to be watered twice per day via overhead mister. Should the mister break for any reason, attendant should water O38 by hand until it has been fixed. Lighting is provided by computer-controlled lighting array. Attendants watering O38 by hand and maintenance personnel fixing mister or lighting should wear hazmat suits to prevent additional cloning. Description: O38 was found on an abandoned farm in blank, New York in 19 double blank. It was at first thought to be a common apple tree. However, upon closer inspection, it became apparent that O38 was growing things other than apples, and in fact, other than fruit. O38 has the ability to clone any object that touches its bark. Objects begin growing almost instantaneously and reach maturity within a matter of minutes. A weight limit of 90.9 kilograms, 200 pounds, per object has been previously recorded. Objects that O38 has thus far cloned include apples, oranges, watermelons, eggplants, candy bars, snack foods, see Addendum number 1, televisions, toasters, laptops, keys, see Addendum number 2, chairs, wine, DVDs, CDs, see Addendum number 3, cats, dogs, and people. I think Addendum number 2 is actually going to reference one that either we just saw recently or that, I think we read that one already. I think it does cross-reference that, maybe not. Human and animal cloning through O38 is not recommended, as they appear to age quickly. The majority of these clones live, on average, 2 weeks. After thorough examination of the deceased clones, it has been determined that they begun to ferment before death. Object is currently held on Site-23, and there are currently no plans to move it. Addendum number 1. Dr. Klein has requested that personnel discontinue the cloning of items from the vending machines. See document number 338-1. Addendum 2. Dr. Klein has requested that personnel discontinue the cloning of personal items. See document 338-1. Addendum 3. Dr. Klein has requested that personnel discontinue the cloning of movies and music. Document 338-1. Addendum 4. Dr. Klein has requested that personnel discontinue the cloning of cans of Miller, Budweiser, and Foster's. Dr. Klein has furthermore expressed customary disapproval of the quality of such cloned items. So he didn't like the taste, or he just thinks it's distasteful to do that, who knows. Document 338-1b. Document 338-1. I would like to remind all personnel that O38 is not, I repeat, not, a toy. It should not be used for cloning car keys, movies, music, or items from the vending machines. If this behavior continues, I will be forced to limit access to O38. Dr. Klein. Document 338-2. It has been noted that O38 is able to clone SCP-500. Again, I'm just going to breeze through this one really quick, and then we'll turn back around. Have I been reading this like ahead of time? Sorry. I hope I haven't scrolled too much. However, such pills only work 30% of the time, with chance of successful healing dropping as time since cloned increases. So it's like healing pills that lose effectiveness if cloned this way. In 60% of the cases where the infection is permanent, symptoms of infection remain, though further infection is neutralized. I think this is a, good-bad pill. I think this is in one of the games as well, Containment Breach. A173 is referenced. O38 partial testing log. Select experiments only. For full test records and reports, contact affiliated researchers for authorization. Date 1108 quadruple blank. Intent. Confirmation of mass limit. Investigation into consequences of exceeding limit. Summary of test results. 400-pound steel ingot made contact with the outer bark of O38. Chamber vacated as precaution. Cloned ingot grew at typical speed, but growth halted abruptly short of completion. Examination of the end of the aborted facsimile revealed a rough texture, superficially resembling miniature-scale tree bark. Item detached from O38 as typical and was subsequently found to weigh 90.91 kilograms, or almost precisely 200 pounds. Date 1108 quadruple blank. Intent. Investigation into duplication of non-biological animate matter. Summary of test results. 173 deemed a suitable test subject because of its lack of verifiable life processes. Introduced into containment chamber by D-class personnel. Don't blink. Contact made with the outer bark of O38, and 173 returned immediately to containment. 173 facsimile began development at typical speed, beginning at point of contact. As consistent with previous results, growth halted at 200-pound threshold, in this case terminating development after replication of the head, right arm, and partial upper torso. Class D test subject was ordered to break eye contact with clone. They told him to self-terminate, basically. When test subject eventually blinked, No movement was observed in cloned material. Interesting. Extinguishing and re-establishment of containment chamber light supply revealed no apparent reaction from cloned material. Experiment concluded. During storage of cloned portion of 173, it was observed that the partial facsimile was in fact making violent gestures at a dramatically slower rate. Movement was shown to continue regardless of state of observation. Very odd. Very, very odd. Well, we don't need more of 173, but that is a very apt observation. They couldn't have chose a better SCP, I don't think. Or at least it was a very good choice. Alright, let's move on to 039. New look to the page. Okay, I remember this one. This is an image of 039. A male 039 instance is what the tag says for it. The name is monkeynew.jpg. And yes, this does appear to be a bonobos monkey. I don't know my monkeys too well, but it appears to be a typical ape that would be discovered in maybe the Amazon or in Africa, I'm not sure. Aside from maybe missing a mouth and eyes and ears, it does appear to be a typical ape. I don't know what the Latin classification I could give for its genus or whatever, but it does appear to be a typical long-nosed ape. In the background can be discerned just some foliage, green foliage, and yes, it just appears to be some sort of monkey without facial features, without eyes, without a mouth, potentially without nostrils, and without ears. Okay, let's read this. Item number 039, Level 2 Restricted, Containment Class Euclid. Disruption Class VLAM 2, Risk Class Caution. Special Containment Procedures. Living 039 instances are to be contained in Site-77's Wilderness Observation Chamber 2B. The interior and exterior of WOC-2B must be monitored by 2 security guards at all times. WOC-2 is to be inspected weekly for sabotage and contraband. Deceased instances are in refrigerated storage and may be accessed for study upon request. You don't even need clearance for that aside from general clearance outlined here. 039A is data expunged. Description: 039 consists of 23 proboscis monkeys, Nasalis larvatus, which have been subject to radical anatomical changes. These alterations are summarized below. Eyes have been removed. New bone growth has filled eye sockets. No remnants of eyelids or eyebrows remain, only smooth skin. Extreme alterations to the mouth. Oral opening is no longer present. No remnants of lips remain, only smooth skin. Jawbone has been fused in place by new bone growth along the joints. Teeth, tongue, gums, and palate are absent, having been replaced by a large deposit of adipose tissue. Removal of digestive system. Esophagus, stomach, gallbladder, intestines, and bladder have all been replaced with adipose tissue formations of similar shape and volume. Anal orifice has been sealed by new skin growth, leaving no remnants of the anus. It is not clear how 039 instances obtain nutrition and dispose of waste or survive without doing so. Enhancements of auditory, tactile, and olfactory senses. Both absolute and difference thresholds are significantly lower than those of baseline species. These enhancements allow 039 to effectively navigate their environment despite lack of sight. Instances have been observed tapping on objects when navigating unfamiliar surroundings. This behavior has been theorized to be a form of rudimentary echolocation, but this is yet to be proven. Intelligence enhancements. 039 scored consistently higher on all provided cognitive tests than their non-anomalous equivalents. 039 are capable of reproduction. At time of writing, 5 instances of 039 have been born since containment. O39 show a very close bond among their species, with newborns often being cared for by all capable adults. Okay. New instances are born with the same New instances are born with the same New instances are born with the same anatomic anomalies as their parents. Despite this, testing has not identified any genetic divergence from baseline species in O39 instances. O39 communicate via touch in a complex series of nasal vocalizations, many of which have not been observed in non-anomalous Nasalis larvatus. Original instances also possess a rudimentary understanding of spoken English. This knowledge is not passed on to newborns, but they do naturally learn some English from exposure to Foundation personnel. Instances of O39 have demonstrated the ability to operate mechanical tools and to perform various complex tasks, primarily related to automobile construction and maintenance. This knowledge does not appear to be innate, as newborn instances do not possess it. So it is just demonstrating, offshoots of humanity, I guess, monkeys, and their immediate evolution effects. Who knows if this is Foundation trickery that they made this happen, or I don't know, maybe this is an anomalous ape instance. Addendum O3911 Recovery Log. O39 were recovered in 1998 when Foundation forces raided a Prometheus Labs facility approximately 25 kilometers north-northwest of Blank, Nevada. The facility was found to have been abandoned an unknown amount of time prior to Prometheus Labs' collapse. Recovered objects of note included two automobiles abandoned in the parking lot outside, a third automobile partially disassembled in a cargo bay, an assortment of power tools, spare parts, paints, and other auto maintenance implements, an assortment of veterinary anesthetics, surgical implants, and data expunged, located in an operating room. This sounds like they're trying to make apes the smart ones. 20 small cages, presumably for the purpose of containing O39. All cages were empty and partially dismantled with the doors removed. 2 larger cages, likewise empty and dismantled, containing chimpanzee hair and feces. The frozen remains of a dissected O39 instance, which lacked a nose or nasal passages, in addition to the typical anomalies. So yes, this seems like it's a direct result of genetic manipulation. The remains of 3 adult males, identified via dental analysis as Alan Blank, Damian Blank, and Cole Blank. All 3 individuals had been killed by severe blunt trauma, and remains bore pre- and post-mortem bite marks corresponding to chimpanzee dentition. So maybe apes strung together, the smart apes took over and made more smart apes? The Personal Journal of Cole Blank, see Addendum 2. 18 instances of O39, O39A. Addendum O39-2, Personal Journal of Cole Blank. Some entries appear to notate the early prototyping stage of O39's development. These entries are reproduced below, with portions irrelevant to O39 excised for brevity. But document O39. This is probably unnecessary, but since Damien's keeping track of all the sciencey stuff, but I need something to do. Dear Diary. I should have brought more books to read. No scientific notes were recovered from the facility. Well, we got the monkeys today. Not the monkeys we wanted, mind you. These are frickin' proboscis monkeys. We asked that Werner guy what he was thinking when he got these things, and he just shrugged. Said we didn't specify what kind of monkey we wanted. What kind of weirdo hears monkey and thinks, yeah, I'll get the fat ones with the big noses? We wanted rhesus macaques, just like literally every other research facility on the planet. Now we have to refit everything for 20 monkeys that are twice as big as we expected, or else stick them in cages that are too small. Wonder how he got these things, but I'm kind of afraid to ask. Dude says he's an actor, but I never heard of him. Maybe he's in German movies or something with a name like that. Imagine having exotic animal smuggling, sick, as your side job. What a weirdo. Including the deceased instance, only 19 instances of O39 were recovered from the facility. Strike through. The whereabouts of the missing 20th instance are unknown. Unstrike through. In 1999, the 20th instance was discovered in 1328, living in an otherwise abandoned house belonging to the Red Actors troupe. Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe we'll do 682. Potentially, we'll see, but the rest of this I'll just do a quick scroll through. We might return to it, who knows. Okay. The monkeys are doing fine. Passing all the tests way better than they did when they could see. Damien says it's probably because they can remember it better, but I still think at least some of it has to do with not being distracted. I know I think better with my eyes closed. Took the nose off of one of the monkeys today to see what would happen. I just figured it would suffocate, but it didn't. Guess it gets its air from the same place as its food now. Makes me wonder just how much we could take out. If it's not breathing, does it really need a heart? That's about the only internal organ it's got left at this point. Pulling the heart won't improve the intelligence any though, so there'd be no point, just curious. So this is like extreme genetics. The one with no nose isn't moving anymore. We thought he was dead at first, till we checked for a pulse. Poor guy must be depressed. I'd be pretty unhappy too, if I couldn't see or talk any of my friends, but I could still hear them around me. If he doesn't shape up soon, we'll have to dissect him, see if we can figure out what happened. We're gonna leave the noses on the rest of them so this doesn't happen again. Called Werner, ordered some chimps. I made sure he knew exactly what animal I was talking about, so he won't show up with a fucking baboon or something. Dissected the noseless one today. Couldn't find anything obviously weird. Brain was still intact and everything. Oh well. Damien said that the problem might be specific to this species, since the nose is so important to their social structure. I don't know about that, since I figured the eyes and mouth were pretty damn important too. But we won't know for sure until we try it in a different species. Werner brought us 2 chimps, both males. They're bigger than I expected. Now that we're done with the monkeys, we're handing them over to Alan. He's going to try to teach them some tricks to impress potential donors. Alan says the monkeys are learning quick. I question the wisdom of teaching monkeys to use power tools, but Alan says they don't seem interested in getting up to mischief. Monkey business. Anymore. Must be the procedure. Decided to start with the nose instead this time, to see if the monkey really freaked out because it couldn't communicate or because sanity is somehow dependent on the nose or some shit. Probably should have tested that on the monkeys, but we were too busy trying to get out of feeding them to be properly scientific about it. I wish our grant request hadn't been denied. Then we'd have enough money for some trial and error, and we wouldn't have to rely on some actor for our test subjects. I don't like the chimps. The monkeys were alright because they're so funny looking, but the chimps are a little too much like hairy people for me. It feels like they're actually seeing me when they look, if that makes any sense. Doesn't help that I know they're smarter now. I don't think they like me either. Can't wait till we take their eyes tomorrow. God, this is sadistic. In other news, Alan finally actually got the monkeys to change the tires on his cart. It looked funny doing it, like a furry little pit crew. These must be the smartest monkeys on the planet by now, and Alan says they're still learning. The monkeys are basically geniuses at this point. Alan had them wax his car, do an oil change, and some other car stuff that I don't understand. Hopefully that'll convince the guys upstairs to reconsider our grant. Maybe give us what we need to move on to human experimentation. If that doesn't work, we might at least be able to sell these monkeys to MC&D, or somebody as a cheaper, cuter alternative to real auto mechanics. This is a very deep Foundation reference here. I don't remember what it stands for. Marshall Carter and Dark, I think? But yes, that is a deep reference. One of the chimps tried to fucking bite me today. I'm not going back in there until we take the mouths. Those bastards can starve for all I care. Damien can handle it. He still doesn't want to take the mouths yet, since those are their last facial features, and he's afraid the same thing that happened to the monkey without a nose will happen to them. Got a call from Werner today. Said he had one more ape for us. I asked him what he was talking about, but he just laughed. Said he'd be here tomorrow and hung up. Doesn't he know we're already struggling? We don't have space for another damn monkey, much less food. Further information regarding O39A is restricted to personnel level 3 and higher. Addendum O3911, information pertaining to O39A. Input level 3 clearance, access granted. Special containment procedures. O39A is held in a standard human containment chamber, adjusted to accommodate its blindness. Description: O39A is an adult human male named Jacob Blank. By the same process that created O39, O39A's eyes, nose, mouth, and associated organ systems have all been removed. It has experienced similar enhancements to its intelligence and remaining senses, as well as other psychological alterations. This feels like the gray alien theory that, like, grays are just self-modified humans, and that they don't need to eat or anything. That's why some of them don't have mouths or ears or whatever. Very, very interesting but freaky genetic stuff. The following excerpts from Cole Blank's journal relate to O39A. It's a human. The ape Werner was talking about, it's a fucking person, a guy named Jake. Some crackhead he scraped up off the street. Probably just promised him a bunch of drugs to lure him into that creepy red van Werner drives and then dumped him on us. I know our eventual goal here is to boost human intelligence, but we're not ready for human experimentation at this stage. Damien disagrees, says this is a big opportunity. If we can pull off a successful, sick human prototype, then we're bound to get our grant approved, right? He's right, but that doesn't change the fact that this is a whole new level of illegal, not to mention dangerous. Not sure I want to do it just yet, not without approval from upstairs. Fucking Damien. Last night that asshole went behind my back and operated on Jake. Took his whole damn face off all at once. Jake's lucky he didn't drop dead right there from the shock. He still hasn't woken up yet, so it might still happen. I told Damien I'll feed him to the fucking chimps if he does this again. I'm not prepared to dispose of a body. Shouldn't be hard out here in the middle of this damn desert, but still. Jake woke up today, already moving around and everything. It's kinda creepy how fast he recovered, and how calm he is about the whole thing. I guess he knew what he signed up for, but you'd think a guy would be at least a little weirded out when he wakes up without a face. Here's something sick weird. Jake says he isn't craving drugs anymore. He still had some on him when he got here, crack or meth or I don't know what. But he wants us to get rid of it. According to him, he'd normally be wanting a fix right now, but he hasn't felt the urge since the operation. I don't know how taking his face off cured his addiction. It enhances intelligence, yeah, but it shouldn't alter your brain chemistry like that. Damien's as stumped as me. He's been knee-deep in that old-ass book that gave him this crazy idea in the first place, trying to figure it out. I'd offer to take a look at it, but I don't speak Latin. This is so fucked. No books matching this description were recovered from the facility. Jake wanted to see the monkeys today, so, despite my better judgment, we took him to Alan. He was training them to build a car engine, and they were doing a great job, believe it or not. They could tell somebody new was in the room. I guess they smelled him. A couple of them came over and he squatted down to pet them. Damien warned him that the monkeys aren't usually very friendly, but they didn't seem to mind. Reached up to touch his face, started snorting a whole lot. Seemed kind of excited, I guess because they found a human who's like them. The whole thing was really weird. Now he wants to see the chimps, but I said no. We can't afford to let our only human test subject get mauled to death. Damien does think we can probably take their mouths off, though, since Jake didn't go nuts like the monkey. I guess we'll do that tomorrow unless something weird happens with Jake. This is how you get psychic espers. This is how you get psychic freaks that put all of their mental energy into communicating and enjoying their new life, and they fucking destroy everybody. Because they're forced into a new sixth sense. They don't have any other senses to use. Damien doesn't want to do the chimps until after they meet Jake. Says he wants to see if they make any unusual vocalizations. I don't know what he expects to see, but he says that after the way the monkeys acted yesterday, it might be worth checking out. I said it's still too dangerous, but Damien got kinda shitty about it and said the chimps only act aggressive around me because I don't like them. Said I don't have to come if I didn't want to, so I won't. I hope they throw shit at him. Well, this is creepy. Damien swears that Jake and the chimps actually communicated. They did that same face-touching thing as the monkeys, And then they were hooting and stuff, and he was nodding his head like he understood. Jake says he doesn't know what Damien's talking about, and I'm not sure what to think. It sounds crazy, but then again, so does a guy with no face. Starting to think we're in over our heads here. Knew we should have waited for that grant to start human testing. I wish fucking Werner hadn't brought us this guy. Oh, one more thing. Alan was having the monkeys repaint his car. Starting to think he just did this as an excuse to get his car souped up for free. Dude, this whole car shit is so ridiculous. And one of them snuck off with a couple of tools. Took a while to notice he was gone. But me and Alan tracked the little guy down pretty easily, hanging around outside the chimp pen. Not sure where he left the tools, but we can look for them tomorrow. Uh-oh, they're too smart now. When MTF Epsilon 6 entered the facility, they discovered O39A living in what was presumably its quarters, sharing living space with several instances of O39. Initial interactions were complicated by O39's inability to speak, but once communication in writing was established, it willingly entered custody. Addendum O39-4 interviews, re-enter level 3 clearance. Access granted. Following it is an interview of O39A conducted by Dr. Leroy Carlson. It communicated its answers by typing on a computer. Begin log. Carlson, good morning, O39A. O39A waves at Dr. Carlson. Carlson, I'm Dr. Leroy Carlson. O39 offers Dr. Carlson a handshake, which he accepts. Carlson, I'd like to ask you a few questions about what happened at the Prometheus Labs facility. O39A nods. First, how do you know about Carlson? First, how do you know about Werner Gillespie? O39A shrugs. He picked me up in Reno. He picked me up Reno, pulled up beside me on the street in the red van, asked me if I wanted to become human. Asked him what the hell he was talking about, and he told me there were some guys out in the desert somewhere who could fix me, make it so I never needed food or water ever again, make me smarter too. Sounded too good to be true, like you said, but I figured I didn't have much to lose. Besides, he had drugs. So I got in that creepy-ass van with him, and he took me out to that place in the desert. Carlson, do you know anything else about him? O39A shakes its head. O39A, we didn't exactly have a heart-to-heart. Carlson, did he say why he was interested in this project? O39A, nope. Just said he was helping those guys at the lab find test subjects. Carlson, I see. Is there anything else you know about him? O39A, he said he was an actor. Oh, and the van had Florida plates. Why is there an entire article about Florida? This is called, 1513. Why is Florida a thing? Okay. Carlson. Have you had any contact with Gillespie since he brought you to the facility? O39A. Nope. Carlson, are you sure? There seem to be some objects missing from the laboratory, and 2 chimpanzees. O39A. I'm sure. The chimps left on their own after they killed those guys. Figured out how to open a door, ran off into the desert. Probably died out there since they still needed food and water. Carlson, then why didn't you leave the facility? O39A. Hey, just because I don't need water doesn't mean I can't have a heat stroke. Don't need to worry about finding food or anything, so I decided to stick around. Figured somebody would find me eventually. Too bad it was you guys. Carlson, Do you know anything about any books or research notes that the scientists who operated on you may have had? O39A shakes his head. Nope. Like I said, I was just a test subject. Carlson, interesting. While we're on the subject, how exactly did the chimpanzees escape their cages? O39 shrugs. Beats me. Cole probably forgot to lock the cages or something. Carlson, O39A, even smart people make mistakes. Carlson, I suppose. Note, he's lying. I'm requesting the use of enhanced chemical interrogation techniques. Carlson. O39A, you don't believe me, do you? Carlson, I'll ask the questions, thanks. O39A, will you? Or are you just going to sit there and write? Carlson, I'll write as long as I want. O39A, fine then. Take your time. It's not like I have anywhere else to be anywhere. You're just going to put me back in my cell when we're done, right? Carlson, right. 039A removes its hands from the keyboard and leans back with them behind its head. Carlson finishes writing. Carlson, okay, 039A, just one more question. 039A, you really enjoy calling me that, don't you? Makes it easier to forget I'm a person. Carlson, are you able to communicate with the monkeys? This directs to 978 Extended Test Logs number 039. Again, I'm just kind of gonna ignore offshoot links. This is a huge page, by the way. Oh my god. Alright. This is, I believe this is Harvest Moon music, right? Why am I seeing this? I smell it. I smell it. I smell pestilence. Okay. 039A, what? Carlson, the journal we recovered indicates that you may have been able to communicate with them and the altered chimpanzees in some way. 039A, that must be Cole's journal. You know he is an idiot, right? Not to mention a dick. He didn't like me or the chimps. Carlson, are you saying that you can't communicate with other 039 instances? 039A, I mean, can you communicate with your dog? They're smart animals. Carlson, yes, but I can talk to my dog and he can see me. You and the monkeys can't do either of those things. 039A hesitates. 039A, I'd like to go back to my cell now. 039A crosses its arms. Carlson, this interview is not over. 039A does not respond. Carlson, you're not going to cooperate, are you? 039A shakes its head. Carlson, fine, but this isn't over. End log. Dr. Carlson's request for chemical interrogation is pending Ethics Committee approval, as 039A's altered physiology, metabolism, and psychology make the effects of mnestics and similar drugs on it difficult to predict. Below is the transcript of Dr. Carlson's second interview with 039A, conducted the following day. Begin log. Carlson, hello again, 039A. 039A does not respond. Carlson, I'd like to ask you some questions about the procedure that removed your face. 039A nods slowly. Carlson, first, how was it performed? 039A, what do you mean? Carlson, was it a surgical operation, a magical ritual? Thaumaturgy is referenced. Were you genetically modified? 039A shrugs. They didn't tell me the specifics and I was out during the operation. Carlson, you didn't ask? 039A shakes head. It's not like I would have understood the science anyway. They just told me it would make me smarter and I wouldn't have to eat anymore. And then I'd go blind, but my hearing would get better so I wouldn't be so bad. Carlson, and you agreed to this? 039A nods. You would have too. This links back to SCP-978 Extended Test Logs number 039A. So, basically the same category. Dr. Carlson, what makes you say that? 039A thinks briefly. 039A, rough estimate. How much money do you spend on food every month? Groceries, restaurants, everything. Carlson, a couple $100? It varies. 039A, now imagine that you still had those $100 every month. That's more than $1,000 a year. What would you buy with that? Something that you want, but you don't have right now because your budget. Carlson, well, I've been trying to complete my rare coin collection. 039A, cool. So just think, if you didn't have to eat, you'd have all those rare coins. Carlson, well, yeah, but I like eating. 039A, do you? Or is that just your biological need to eat, tricking your brain into enjoying something it doesn't really have a choice about? Carlson, of course I like eating. I mean, maybe not always, but when I go to a fancy restaurant or something I do. 039A, okay, fine, let me put it like this. You want to lose some weight, right? Carlson, what? Dr. Carlson looks down at his body. 039A, just guessing, most of you people do. Carlson, us people? 039A, people who can afford to eat. Before I got my face off, I only got to eat if I went to a homeless shelter or fished something out of the trash. You have the opposite problem, don't you? Eating too much. Carlson, well, I suppose so. 039A, now imagine if you never had to worry about that. If you didn't have to try and fail to exercise self-control when you reach for one more piece of cake, or one more deep-fried whatever. because you can't eat, but that doesn't bother you because you don't want to anyway. Pretty soon after your operation, your body will naturally reach a healthy weight, but you can still build muscle. Heck, I was skinny as a post before I got rid of my face, now look at me. Carlson, I think I'll stick with my diet. O39A, how about this then? How much time do you spend eating every day? Carlson, look, I just want to know more about the procedure, this isn't necessary. O39A, you wanted to know why I volunteered, didn't you? I'm trying to explain it to you, or do you not really want to know? Carlson, fine, carry on. O39A, so how much time do you spend eating? Carlson, I don't know, maybe an hour total? O39A, and how much time do you spend cooking, shopping for food, driving back and forth to the place where you shop, bringing in the groceries, putting them away, or when you go to a restaurant? How much time do you waste deciding where to go, driving out there, waiting at your table, waiting to order, waiting for the food, waiting for the check? Then after you eat, how much time do you spend shitting every day? How much of your life is wasted sitting on a toilet, wiping your own ass, smelling your own shit like an animal? Do you have any idea how much of your short life is wasted fulfilling base biological needs? How much of the stuff you want to do with your life never gets done because you're too busy doing what you have to do? Carlson, I understand that, but I like my face where it is. O39A shakes its head slowly. O39A, well, maybe if you were in the shoes that I was in, you'd think differently. From where I was, a face was a small price to pay. I don't guess it matters now, though, since I'm in a box. Carlson, I'm sorry about that, but surely you can understand the kind of uproar a man with no face would cause if we just let you wander around in public. O39A hesitates for several seconds, fingers hovering above the keyboard. O39A, did you have any other questions? Carlson, well, we're wondering if you've experienced any other psychological changes. The monkeys show much higher cognitive performance than unaltered ones, and we want to know if you've experienced anything similar. O39A, definitely. It's a little more complicated than just being smarter, though. Carlson, how so? O39A, well, it's all about attention. I can hear better now, what with the O39A gestures at the upper half of its face. But I also listen better, if that makes any sense, because I'm not distracted anymore. I never realized it before, and you probably don't either. I'm not sure anybody can if they still have a face, but people are always distracted, thinking about 1,000 different things, worrying about your job, or lack of one in my case, trying to figure out what you're going to have for dinner, where you're going to sleep, how you're going to get your next fix, whatever that is for you. But I don't have to deal with all that anymore, so I can pay attention, really pay attention, when I'm listening and remembering all of it. And when I'm thinking, trying to solve a math problem or something, I can concentrate, really concentrate. It's like the difference between being sober and being drunk. Speaking of what, Dr. Carlson, speaking of which, the documents we found indicate that you were addicted to drugs before the operation. O39A, I was a crackhead before they took my face off, but I haven't craved it even a little bit since the operation, didn't even withdraw. It's interesting to you, I imagine? Carlson, yes it is. Do you know why this is the case? O39A, not scientifically, it seemed like Damien and the other guys didn't expect that, but I do know. O39A pauses briefly. O39A, intrinsically? Spiritually? I can feel it if that makes any sense. Carlson, can you explain this feeling? O39A, it's simple really. It's like what I was talking about with the food. Now that my face is gone and a whole bunch of my organs too, I don't know which ones exactly, but most of them, I'm cut off from that. Carlson, from what? O39A, urges, base instincts, the monkey brain. Before my body craved things, food, water, sex, drugs, booze. I could barely think, really think the way I do now, but not anymore. When they remove my face, they remove the monkey. Now it's just me in here. O39A taps its forehead. O39A, just a rational human being in complete control of himself. End log. Well, that's fucking scary. We have no evidence on psychic powers or anything there either. This one doesn't link forward. Nice. Let's go to O40. Here's the page. And let's read this. O40, number O40, object class anomalous human. Containment class active, hazard rating yellow. Standard containment policies. Two-person residential module, no amenity restrictions. Access to site library, recreational facilities, cafeteria and public areas supervised. Dietary restriction, mild peanut allergy. Youth educational curriculum enrollment. Doctors Abernathy, Logan, and Aizawa. Biweekly psychological review, Dr. Abernathy. Schedule B experimentation plan. Special containment procedures. O40 1A, 1C, and 1J have been approved to remain in the containment chamber with O40 for purposes of the subject's mental well-being. Security Chief Special Order 392-5. Double blank, double blank, double blank. All other entities modified by O40 during testing are to be disposed of after study according to standard biological specimen clearance protocols as outlined in document CDP-BIO-EN1. Description: O40 is a human child capable of at-will manipulation of the physical characteristics of living organisms. Modified organisms are collectively referred to as O41. Date of birth: C. 2000. Subject claimed to be 8 years old at DOC. POB unknown. DOC double blank 2008. Height 111 centimeters. Weight 20.7 kilograms. Hair bright pink. Eyes green (R/ / yellow (L). Heterochromia black sclera (L). Other notes: blind in left eye, skin sensitive to burns and easily bruised, hair is brittle and falls out easily. Modifications are purely cosmetic, ranging from simple color and pattern changes to more involved shifts in bodily form and structure. The creation of new specialized organs is possible, but appears to be the limit of O40's ability and currently has a 66% failure rate in testing. Modifications are limited to what would be physically possible, regardless of the probability of such a feature naturally arising. For example, while O40 can grant an organism wings that does not naturally possess them, they will not permit the creature to fly without meeting other physical requirements. O41 undergo behavior shifts as part of the modification process, acting with extreme loyalty to O40 regardless of prior association. O40's anomalous property requires significant focus and time to enact, and causes intense headaches and nausea when performed for more than a few minutes at a time. It sounds almost like Aluka from Hunter x Hunter. The effect becomes increasingly unreliable and inaccurate the smaller the modifications or more complex the changes are. O40 is incapable of altering microscopic organisms and has great difficulty in altering plant life. Dead organic matter may also be used, but must be used in conjunction with a living organism. Feels like another alchemy reference. Instances of O41 cannot be modified more than once, though it is currently unknown if this is a hard limit of O40's properties or from a lack of mastery over them. O40's emotional state is within acceptable boundaries for an individual of its age group, accounting for the effects of prolonged containment and parental separation. Subject's intelligence is slightly above average for its age group. Behavior is generally cooperative. O40 acclimated quickly to containment and responded well to the initial orientation and socialization programs. O40 responds to the name 40 and does not appear to have any other given or chosen personal name. Recovery summary. Subject was taken into custody on double blank 2008 as part of the raid on the Keys to the Kingdom Christian Charter School for Gifted Youth in Redacted, Colorado. The raid's primary objective being the capture or execution of blank blank, a former CIA operative who had previously worked alongside Foundation intermediaries as part of Project Black Book, Project Smilodon, and Operation Stargate from 1967 to 1971 was successful. Blank was terminated on site and disposed of without incident. Of the 15 children recovered from the facility, O40 was the only one to demonstrate anomalous properties. The others were administered amnestics and placed in Foundation-observed foster care. Interviews with staff at the school revealed that they were unaware of Blank's prior history or any connection with Foundation operations. They were administered amnestics and put under a 6-month communications monitor. No relapses were recorded. See Operation Tatzelworm After Action Report for complete event record. Addendum O1. O40 is currently allowed custody of the following O41 instances. O41A, symbiotic organism capable of changing size, shape, color, and texture in reaction to its environment. Subject serves as outer clothing similar to a jacket or sweater and absorbs nutrients from O40's bloodstream. Subject was recovered alongside O40, and genetic testing reveals that the subject shares the majority of its genetic makeup with the common house cat, Felis catus. O41C, spherical organism capable of flight by means of rubbery bladders filled with lighter-than-air gas mixture. Entity has 11 limbs terminating in opposable digits, and a complex respiratory system capable of replicating a wide variety of musical patterns. What? O41J, quadrupedal organism covered in a thick coat of pink and blue fur. Entity has no eyes, a broad mouth with blunt teeth, and is capable of climbing up vertical surfaces, occasionally used by O40 as a means of transport. Addendum O2, the following interview excerpt is dated __, 2008, shortly after O40's initial containment and orientation sessions. Dr. Abernathy, good morning, 40. 40, good morning, Miss Abernathy. Abernathy, sounds like you're getting over your cold. 40, Abernathy, I'm glad. Can I ask you a few questions before we start with today's lesson? 40, yeah. Abernathy, can you tell me about your parents? 40, Mr. Green said that I don't have any. Abernathy, can you tell me about Mr. Green then? Footnote 1. Investigation during Operation Tatzelworm confirmed that blank blank had been operating under the name Henry Green since at least 1982. Weird timeline. O40, he was nice, but he wasn't very good at talking. He would always talk like this, but he wasn't there a lot of the time. Most of the time it was the nurses looking after us. Abernathy, and what did they do for you? 40, they'd play games with us and teach us things, and sometimes they would make us wear these dumb helmets and sit quiet for a long time. Sometimes they'd put a movie on for us if we behaved, but if we were bad, they would lock us in our rooms. Abernathy, can you tell me anything else? 40, They always served us peas for dinner, and I hate peas, so I gave mine to 5, because she liked peas. I think green beans are better. Addendum O3 __, 2009. 40 successfully reanimated a deceased human body during testing, using 3 specimens of brown rat, Rattus norvegicus, as the required living component. Resultant subject retained no memories of previous life and was judged to be of the approximate mental capacity of a human toddler. 40 was highly distressed by the event and refused further testing for the next 3 weeks. Alright, well that was 31 through 40. I do kind of want to read 682. Let's see though. It links to a bunch of stuff, doesn't it? Yeah, this is a really big one. I think we'll return to 682 some other time, but it is a scary one. Alright, so again, thank you very much for stopping by, checking me out, doing some SCP Foundation Wiki. Yeah, it's been fun as always. It's just a nice reading experience, and I hope you guys enjoyed. I look forward to more soon. I'm glad that we've been able to stick with 10 per, and also check out random ones and some offshoot links here and there. But yeah, I appreciate you stopping by. I wanted something chill to end the night, and I got that. So, again, thank you very much for watching, for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed. Before you go, please drop a follow on the Twitch channel. Click the About section on Twitch. Go subscribe to all the social medias. both of the YouTube channels, both the main and Vine channel. Go follow the Twitter, go join the Discord. I've linked everything in chat. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.